I'll see you when the wrath comes, knocking on your bedroom door with money, building your kingdom, dripping from the open mouth. I'll show you what you look like from the inside, and I'll see you when the wrath comes around. Tonight, 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 he'll have the answer. Tonight, let's load the gun, make her read the tape in the bathroom mirror, see if she can guess what a hollow point does to a naked body. Let's fuck her up, manifest pain at the core of pleasure. I'll see you when the wrath comes around. You can stay alive. Just tell me that you notice, even in the dark, the way I left you breathing. Sometimes when we touch, everything we love resets. It's only just enough, even when we run with death. We can be released, flowing over sorrow days. We can stay suspended, even when the bow breaks. Sometimes when we touch, everything we love resets. It's only just enough, even when we run with death.
What is going down, guys? This one today, I don't know why that started. This one today is going to be major, guys. I have fought in my head doing this episode so many times, and there's multiple reasons for that. One, I didn't really know how I wanted to do this episode, as in, like, tell their lore first, because I think I came to the conclusion that yes, Scott, I do like the rats idea. Um, I think it's easier for me to tell Sleep Token's story or their lore, and that will make sense of why my story is so important, or why Sleep Token is so important to me, I guess you should say. And there's a lot of people that are always like, "Oh, bro, you're like obsessed with this band," but you guys will find out the reason why this all happened, why the obsession became what it became. I'm not to the point of like you should worry about me obsessed. This band truly saved my fucking life, dude. That and decisions that I made saved my life. But Sleep Token pretty much changed it changed direction for me. I was getting ready to type it in. Um, I was getting ready to type it in. My dad said, "Always be here for you." You guys all came in to support me today, but this is the most important one because it is going to be rough for me to talk in detail about my point or my downward spiral before Sleep Token and everything kind of changed. My dad probably knows half of it, and maybe not so much why Sleep Token became such an important part of my life or just in general. But yeah, we're gonna discuss their lore first, and I think that is the most important way to do it because when I tell my story, it will basically make everyone understand why the importance of this band, or more so, their cycle. And we'll get into that, whether it's a cycle or it was a cycle. I can tell you that. Whether that cycle ended or is repetitive is kind of to be interpreted. Actually, all of this is kind of for people to interpret the way that they interpret things. It's meant to be open, but I think that their main core of their lore or their story is the most important part. And then we're going to discuss why I believe that these things are metaphors for other things. We're not going to talk, I can't ever say anything. I feel it's important for me to respect and keep Sleep Token's members anonymous, but all I can say is if you know, you know. If you don't, there's a whole fucking rabbit hole you could go down. Actually, probably multiple rabbit holes. And their story is absolutely mind blowing. The behind the scene, every bit of it is mind blowing. But so I originally started writing for this episode, and like I've just felt it to be a grueling task with not, I did the episode with Rocky Erickson, with my dad, actually. That's on the podcast playlist. This one will be there as well. But I did a podcast episode with my dad on Rocky Erickson, because we're both pretty big fans of Rocky. And I felt Rocky is underrated. His story kind of needed to be told. But the point of me discussing this is I actually wrote down a lot for the Rocky Erickson episode. I know my dad did extensive notes. I started doing that to begin with, but I felt so overwhelmed because there's so much to really take in here and digest, and and again, this could be interpreted whatever way. But while doing that and while researching all of this shit, I stumbled across a Reddit post, and I think this user summed it up kind of the best way that I can explain the whole thing. And we don't really have to go into everything, but the most important things that I think matter solely to their lore and to the reason why this music is being created, all of this. But so the username goes by holy_vermin95 on Reddit, and this was posted a year ago. Now, there were all kinds of comments. I read through some of the comments, and it's crazy because we just talked about how I feel that there are metaphors for what I'm about to tell you guys. There were a lot of people on there that kind of felt the same way, that it was a metaphor for something else. But what that metaphor we're talking about is, so basically the summarized version of Sleep Token, and it's, like I said, this is the summarized version of their actual story, or what started all of this. And their story could be looked at as far-fetched, or there are some people out there that might be religious and don't agree with some of the talks in this. I don't think it's that serious, man. I really don't think it's that serious. I think that just like anything else that you love or enjoy, if it's a movie, if it's a video game, if it's a cartoon, if it's whatever, I think when there's bands or artists that have this lore, if you just take this little bit of it, it's crazy to me. But I think you find yourself knowing this little bit of portion, and then you listen to the music, and it's like shit just starts to really make sense. So the metaphor that we're talking about is basically there's an unknown force that is controlling this deity called sleep, and sleep is trying to take over Vessel. Basically, as this person says, I see the story of Sleep Token as the redemption story of Vessel, the character, who is being punished by some unknown force through a deity named Sleep. Sleep is unaware of this and just sees Vessel as another vessel to feast on and ruin. But Vessel is stronger and wants to improve. He breaks free by the end of Take Me Back to Eden with a new outlook on life. Sabademic has lore to him, so I know that when you guys hear that part of it, some people might go, wow, that's a bit over exaggerated, or that's kind of corny, or I really believe, guys, that this is a metaphor for something more major. Sleep taking over Vessel is a metaphor for something that happened in not the character Vessel, but the person's actual life. I don't believe that this crosses religious boundaries. If that's not your thing, that's not your thing. If you're not okay talking about these kinds of things, I just feel if you have an open mind going into this, that maybe if you weren't a Sleep Token fan before and you hear the overall story, their lore, it might make more sense to you when you listen to the music, as I said before, and you might find yourself enjoying it a bit more. But, so yes, Sleep is the deity that is trying to take over Vessel, who is he's the lead singer of Sleep Token, for those that didn't know. So it's Vessel, the drummer is 2, the bass player is 3, the guitar player is 4. And I have discussed before that, I guess if you didn't catch it, the craziest thing about Sleep Token, and the thing that made me respect them like I really fucking love and respect Sevidemic, is the writer behind all of this, minus drums, is Vessel. So in the studio, it is only Vessel and 2, as they call him, the drummer. They write and record all of this shit. So that means Vessel writes all guitar parts, all bass parts, all keyboard parts, all the lyrics, and how the song is, I guess, the flow of the song and all of that shit. I can tell you that this band was definitely originated around Vessel. I know that for sure. And, you know, there is so much deep diving you could do on this shit. It's really unreal, man. Because it's not like Sleep Token just came... I'll say this. It's not like Vessel just came out of nowhere, was never a fucking musician, and just started making all this catchy ass music. And there was a person that subbed my channel recently. They were in a My Summer Car episode that we did, and they said their best way to describe Sleep Token is like an R&B metal fusion, and I think that's very fitting. They're one of the only bands that I've ever been drawn to based on a voice. I was always a guitar player, so whenever I listened to metal bands and shit, it was always me loving these guitar riffs or things like that. And it was not so much... That's why people would ask me, like, how the fuck do you listen to metal? It's just nothing but a bunch of screaming. Well, first of all, I'm a guitar player, so I mainly listen to the guitars. And second of all, I think that you just either love that shit or you don't. But so yeah, Sleep is trying to take over Vessel, his soul, and basically ruin him, and basically take over his soul. So basically the story begins with, there's a lot of people out there that might not know this, newer fans, whether you watch this or not. There are 3 full albums, right? 3 full albums, but there are 2 EPs that old school fans I hear talk about it all the time, but everybody that's newer that loves Sleep Token loves Take Me Back to Eden, which is their latest album. It's already a year old at this point. I think those 2, we just listened to 2 songs off of the EPs before this podcast started, and I think if you go back and you listen to these songs on these EPs, not only do they start the story or their lore, but they also are so unique compared to the rest of their catalog. And man, it's... You pretty much can only listen to them on Spotify and YouTube and shit like that. I've tried to find their CDs. More so recently been into collecting vinyl, and I did find their first album, their first full-length album, which is called Sundowning. I found that with the EPs that are called 1 and 2, not to be confused with the band members. But the EPs are just titled 1 and 2. for those two EPs and their first album on vinyl, it's $1,200. Those EPs are super, super rare, super hard to come by. I'll probably never own them in my life, but wow, man, those EPs are super special to me. And not only did they have those EPs, but they also released a. I don't think they're touched on in here. Oh no, I believe that maybe they are touched on in here. They are. Jay said my EP is better. So guys, Sleep Token's whole lore starts out with Thread the Needle, which is off the very first EP. And the reason why Thread the Needle is so important is because this is where Vessel talks about sleep. Basically, this song is Sleep taking over Vessel for the first time. She seduces him for the first time and starts to take control of Vessel's mind by making time dilate. And that is discussed in the song. If you listen to Thread the Needle, he definitely talks about time dilating. Sleep offers Vessel someone to confide in and erase his past mistakes with. And he also says the lyrics, "Bury me inside this labyrinth bed," which just signifies Vessel going to sleep. Tell Tony to hush, she can hear you. Tony, be quiet, or I call the police. And you know I'll do it. Either that or I'll just sign for certified mail for you again. One of the two will happen. But yeah, guys, the song Thread the Needle was the first song that Sleep Token pretty much ever released. And basically it just starts Sleep actually seducing Vessel while he's asleep. And that is a reoccurring thing in a lot of their shit. You'll hear him discuss that in songs like Atlantic. Where he says the words, anything to get me to sleep. He's not really talking about, he's talking about both. He's talking about going to sleep, but also sleep taking him over and him falling for her, or him. It's to be determined. I know that it's been discussed before that sleep is a him, but pretty much it's just a deity, so it doesn't really matter. So then right after that, Jay said, I can't wait to go to sleep. Right after that, you have the song Fields of Elation. So Fields of Elation is Vessel's perspective as he succumbs to sleep for the first time. He says that in the song, losing faith in their time apart, and he thinks nobody else can pull him out. Which he's talking about his past mistakes. And the Reddit user holy_vermin95 says, this, in my opinion, makes Vessel much more complex than I imagined. Yes, sleep is a malicious force that devours souls and feasts on vulnerable people by manipulating them, but Vessel also only values sleep because they can make him feel better about his past. They both do not value one another and are only there to serve themselves, which builds this foundation of a toxic relationship. And it's pretty much discussed all throughout. I think once you guys know all of this shit, when you hear these songs, all of this shit is going to make so much more sense to you. But, again, I do really believe that this shit goes deeper than this. And what I mean by that is, this is just a story. But I feel somebody does not go through this much to write a story or come up with this story without some fucking severe shit going on in their lives, dude. Or past traumas, things like that. And believe me, there are several songs where once I learned the actual how this song could be interpreted, it changed totally everything. And the craziest part about all of this is I started listening to, I first heard Sleep Token, I've talked about this before, late 2019. I heard the song Jaws, and I'm not saying that it didn't do anything for me, but they would become so fucking important to me by the middle to end of 2020, that at that time, it sounded unique to me, but it wasn't as important as it would become to me. And there will be obvious reasons why. But I think that there is something to be said about, first of all, the way all of this is interpreted, and the way all of this plays out. I think there's something to be said about somebody just coming up with this type of story. I don't really truly believe. Yes, I believe that there are people that are creative. We see and meet super creative people all throughout our lives. But I think something major happened. And the only way that the person that Vessel truly is, as in human being, the only way for him to deal with this shit was Sleep Token. I truly believe that. Bill said, yeah, there's got to be more behind it. Bro, when I tell you all of this shit, there's no way there can't be more behind it. So, we've already discussed Thread the Needle, Fields of Elation. Those are the first two songs. When the Bow Breaks, which we just played last. I said after this song, we'll be live. That's my favorite Sleep Token song. That is When the Bow Breaks. So, When the Bow Breaks is Sleep begins to gaslight Vessel, basically telling him he's powerless, convincing him he's powerless without them. And makes him feel bad about saying, doesn't love, just hates to be alone, which is repeated. There's always things in people's lives that influence their music. Facts, Dad. Facts. But I think that's why this is so fucking important. This story might not be important to anybody else, but it's super important to me. And when I tell my story, everybody will understand, I believe, 100%, dude. So, before the main breakdown of When the Bow Breaks, Vessel repeats, you don't really love, you just hate to be alone, over and over. So basically that is Sleep talking and saying that Vessel doesn't really love, just hates to be alone, so he'll be scared and never leave. Sleep also does not believe Vessel is devoted to them and repeats the line, "Don't lie to me," which is repeated throughout it as well. Probably in response to what Vessel says in Fields of Elation about Sleep being the only one to pull him out and how devoted he is to them. They also expand on how great they would be together. So that's all discussed in, and you can break that down as the first song being Sleep taking over Vessel, which is Thread the Needle, or seduces Vessel for the first time, and then Vessel's perspective on how he succumbed to sleep for the first time. And then When the Bow Breaks is Sleep again talking to Vessel. So even though Vessel is singing this, you have to try to look at it from the standpoint of somebody else inside Vessel's body, which is the reason for his name being Vessel anyways. But yeah, if you look at it from that perspective, it starts to make sense. Then, those are the 3 songs on the 1 EP. Now we come to the 2 EP, which starts with Calcutta. This EP came a year after 1. So Calcutta just basically serves as an update to everyone, getting everyone up to speed on Vessel and Sleep's relationship without adding any new significant events. Vessel just gushes over Sleep and tells them how they make him feel whole, which is discussed all throughout. Basically, in Calcutta, Vessel says multiple times, "My hands are not worthy," and he's basically discussing that this is his love for Sleep. Sleep is able to make him forget his past, or to help pull him out of those past mistakes, or give him a chance, maybe fool him into believing that they're the only person that can make him forget about his past or past mistakes. So then this was the one for me, and I'm glad we're talking about this, because if anybody in here has heard this song, or if you listen, if tonight you decided, holy shit, this Sleep Token shit is blowing my mind, and you go through their whole entire catalog, I promise you one song will stand out. And the reason why this one song stands out is because it's so fucking dark compared to anything that they've written. It's a fucking dark song, but it's called Nazareth, and Vessel opens it with, "I'll see you when the wrath comes," is what he says right in the beginning. And he basically alludes to all this fucked up shit that, like, you're listening to the song and you're like, did he just say that? He just said that. But it never made sense to me. And the crazy part about it is, we didn't get into it. I was getting down that path. But when I first started listening to Sleep Token, I loved Sleep Token for their music. Guys, I didn't take this deep dive into their lore until I thought about making a podcast episode on it. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't really dive into Sleep Token's lore, so Nazareth would have never made sense to me. It didn't make sense to me and my coworker that I did the first Sleep Token podcast episode with, and also the one that I went to Pennsylvania to see their live concert just not that long ago in May. Her and I always would discuss Nazareth and why was Nazareth so dark. But with this being said, if you guys go listen to Nazareth, you'll know exactly what I mean. Don't get me wrong, there are a lot of their songs, early songs, that are kind of, you could listen to them and say, man, this is fucking depressing. But there's a reason for all of that. Nazareth was the only one that didn't fit, that was like, wow, this song isn't depressing. This song is fucked up. Like, it has a super dark vibe to it, and we'll discuss that. But more importantly, why Nazareth is so different, and it makes so much sense to me now. It says, the Reddit user says, probably the darkest song in their entire catalog. As Sleep was skeptical of Vessel's devotion to them before, Vessel aims to prove devotion by torturing and inflicting pain to his past lover, which he discusses in the song. Basically, in parentheses, whom he probably already treated wrong considering his past mistakes, that he seeks to overcome the guilt of with Sleep. This is a huge leap, but let's call her Eden. And I'm okay with doing that, because that I'm reading this off this Reddit post, right? to you guys, but also my own interpretation of it, or discussing further lyrics with you guys, just so you're aware that this is what's happening. But we will use Eden, and it makes sense because their last album would be called Take Me Back to Eden, but Eden is super important to this story, and that's why I think this shit goes deeper than what this story is. But yes, we'll always consider Vessel's past, or the way he treated his past lover, as Eden from here on out, pretty much. So Vessel constantly says throughout the song, "Let's load the gun. I'll show you what you look like from the inside." And he also says, not repetitively, but he does say the line, "See if she can guess what a hollow point does to a naked body," which shows that Vessel intends to shoot her. And this Reddit user says, "I believe she does." So this song is put out there so that Sleep understands Vessel's absolute devotion, meaning he's willing to kill his ex-lover to prove his devotion to Sleep. So with that being said, now Nazareth makes, as soon as I read that, fucking Nazareth made 100% sense to me. And it will be different for you guys because you'll know that now, you know what I mean? But I literally have listened to their entire catalog front to back. I can't tell you how many times. And Nazareth always, it never made sense to me, but it does now. Again, this is all to be interpreted however the fuck you want, but this makes Nazareth make sense. Tony said this is some wild shit. Tony, I think what makes it wilder for me, dude, and I really know that, like, this might just be the obsessed fanboy, and maybe not everybody will feel this way that I feel, and there's a reason, because my story makes this Sleep Token shit make 100% sense, and I promise you guys will see that. But again, dude, I think this is a dude that literally fucked up. He fucked a lot of shit up in his life, mainly this one person. And this dude will probably spend the rest of his life heartbroken about these decisions. And with that being said, I don't think there's a person in here that couldn't agree that that shit has happened to them, where they made a life decision and that shit will haunt you for the rest of your fucking life, dude. And that has a lot to do with my story, bro. And the guilt that we feel the older we get, you know, these what if things and shit. So I think that's why Sleep Token makes so much fucking sense to me if you look at that edit that way, sleep being a metaphor for these things. But yeah, so we'll keep going. So we've already talked on EP2. There is Calcutta and Nazareth we've already discussed. So then that moves us to Jericho. And there's quite a bit that haunts me, right, my guy? And the older we get, the more we think about those fucking types of things. And I think that that's why my love for Sleep Token maybe is where it's at in my point in my life, because of decisions that I had to make. And before speculation continues, and I'm going to discuss it in 100% detail when we get into my part of the story, this has nothing to do with my ex-wife, period. Like me making a decision that I would regret. It has nothing to do with that, but it definitely does have to do with a relationship. So in Jericho, this song is basically Sleep just boasting. Jericho is just Sleep just boasting after finally acquiring Vessel as a vessel, because Sleep is going to use Vessel as that. Vessel asks Sleep to show him love by eating him. Now, this will be, this is also called or considered vorophilia. This means somebody of, I guess, of power or just a fetish that you have of being devoured by this person. Or, you know, it's a fucking legit thing. But Sleep Token references vorophilia multiple times, and with vorophilia being even discussed on Take Me Back to Eden, they literally have a song called Vor. Tony said, or let's get to what Bill said. Bill said, wow, I'm going to have to listen to these songs from first to last, very deep. Bro, I cannot even put into words once I started to dive down this rabbit hole, and believe me, guys, there is multiple Sleep Token rabbit holes. But Tony said, right, Bill, his explanation will make you hear it a little different when you do. Yeah, dude, and I want to be able to put this out there for people like myself that stumbled across Sleep Token at a time in their life where they fucking really needed that band, dude. They really needed something, dude. And, bro, it just really puts a lot of things into different perspectives, and I am fucking stoked to be sitting here telling you guys this, and you guys are interested to hear this, because to me, it's fucking crazy, dude. And again, I want everybody to look at this as, I believe this is a metaphor, dude. For what? There's speculation, obviously, but I'm not a person that really likes to speculate too much, but there are reasons that this happened, bro. There's not a doubt in my mind. When you listen to Vessel sing, okay? This is another thing. You listen to Vessel sing. There are multiple songs, not only live, but on CD. Bloodsport, not the... If you listen to Sundowning album, there's a song called Bloodsport. It's towards the end of the record. Might be the very last song. I don't know, because there's some bonus cover songs that Sleep Token did. But in the regular version of Bloodsport, there's two versions. There is a version called Bloodsport. Then there is a version called Bloodsport from the Room Below. It is not the From the Room Below version. It is the regular version of Bloodsport. Vessel cries in that shit. Vessel cries live. I heard it, witnessed it myself, and if you listen to Vessel's voice, he sounds like, when he sings, this is the best way it's ever... This is the best way I can describe it. He sounds like a person that's in so much fucking pain that they're on the verge of breaking down, and that comes through his voice, to me anyways. Their shit is super deep, bro, and maybe dudes just don't like to talk about that kind of shit, but I think that it's something that needs to be discussed. Mental health shit is a real thing with dudes, for sure. So, I mean, just look at it from that standpoint, you know, that this might be Vessel's way of dealing with these mental health issues or the trauma that he either put himself into, had happened to him, whatever the fuck it was. There is no way that somebody writes music this deep without... And I'm saying, dude, if you read their lyrics, if you listen to their shit, there is no way you could come at me and be like, dude, their music isn't really like that dope. Like, it's dope if you're fucking really into thoughtful shit, dude. Like relationships or these things that everybody experiences. Everybody can relate to this shit. There's no way you can't, dude. So, back to Jericho. But yes, this is just basically boasting about Sleep boasting about acquiring Vessel. They talk about how they dine on old encounters, which is a lyric in the song. He says, "Until I wake, I dine on old encounters." before telling Vessel he is completely under their thumb and tells him to say their name again, which is another lyric. This song also seems to be frantically skipping between Vessel and Sleep, where he says, "My hands are not worthy." Is Vessel reflecting what he's done, while Sleep boasts about their victory and control over Vessel? So, these next two songs are they're important for sure, but these songs are kind of weird in a sense of, this is another vinyl that I'll never own. It is a 7-inch. On one side, it is their single Jaws, which is the first song that I ever heard in late 2019 by Sleep Token. And on the other side of it is a song that's called The Way That You Were. Both of these songs are fucking absolutely incredible. You can still experience them through Spotify, YouTube, that kind of shit. But these songs are so good, guys. But they're not part of their EP. They were just kind of like singles that they released while waiting to release their first full album, which I don't know if these songs were originally intended to be on the EPs or if they were just standalone. I don't know, but they just stood on their own. They were not on any of the EPs, not on any of the full lengths. So Jaws. This is Vessel through Sleep. Now that Vessel and Sleep are entangled, Vessel asks Sleep to show him love by eating him. Now, it is unclear whether this is Vessel truly likes or if Sleep makes him believe that. But either way, this is what Sleep wanted, so they're okay with it. There's many more times Vessel asks Sleep to take a bite of him, which is we just discussed this, guys. And I discussed my interpretation, or basically discussing vorophilia, and basically Vessel wanting to be eaten by Sleep. And like they said, maybe Sleep convinced Vessel that this is what he wants, but it's truly not what Vessel wants. So, The Way That You Were, on the other side, or the other single that they released shortly after Jaws, this song is fucking phenomenal. Their video for this song is phenomenal. Super deep song, super important to me, but also super fucking important to their story. And the reason being is, this is the first time, besides Nazareth, where Vessel basically discusses his past lover. As we've already discussed, we'll just label the past lover as Eden. So this song is basically to Eden, or about Eden. This song seems to be about Vessel reminiscing about Eden, perhaps talking to her in a dream, considering they're probably not on speaking terms after he literally shot her. So that's not what really happened, guys. So if you don't have context, we've already discussed in the song Nazareth, Vessel says some weird shit or some dark shit about, let's see what a hollow point does to a naked body. He's basically showing Sleep his devotion. But in The Way That You Were, it says, Eden is a very troubled soul with repeated patterns of self-harm because of the things that Vessel discusses in this song. And if you listen to the song, you'll know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to go through all of their lyrics, just the ones that are important or stand out. But it says, like I said, Eden is a very troubled soul with repeated patterns of self-harm, and Vessel has an imaginary conversation with her talking about it. Vessel shows no remorse for how he treated her and does not comfort her in any way, showing he has a long way to go for his redemption. He just says all these things in a very stoic fashion. So the video of it is basically, and that's why I think maybe this Reddit user believes that this was a made-up conversation, is because in the video takes place in what looks to be a church, and Vessel is sitting in the very back row of the church, and he is singing his heart out, or basically in his own words, to Eden, who basically would be, I don't know who she is in the video, but she makes repeat returns in the video, which is another rabbit hole you could probably go down. She appears in other Sleep Token videos, but she is sitting front row, and it's almost like she doesn't acknowledge Vessel is even there. And Vessel is like, he's singing that way as well, like he's in the back of the church, not at a pew, but there are chairs laid out, and he is basically telling her all of this, but it's almost like she doesn't even exist there. That's what I got out of the video. So then we get into Sundowning, which is the album that single-handedly got me deep into Sleep Token. Which, by the way, guys, I was only missing this album on vinyl. Kind of off subject for a second, but we're about to do a dab anyways. So I finally snagged a copy of Sundowning on vinyl. It's the only vinyl that I need to complete my 3-album cycle by them. And I lucked out and snagged a gold copy. Should be here next Tuesday, and I cannot wait to spin that thing, because dude, that album is so fucking important to me, dude. And we'll get into all of that. So let's do this dab, and then we're gonna get into Sundowning, and we're gonna kind of move this along the same way that we've been moving things, discussing albums or songs and their importance in the lore. And again, you guys can listen to what I say, and somebody could stumble across this video that is a crazier Sleep Token fan than me and go, hey bro, that's not what he really meant. That's cool, dude. That's cool. I'm not saying this is 100%. You'll hear me say multiple times, this is all to be interpreted, but I think this Reddit user, in my opinion, interpreted it in one of the best ways ever, breaking down every album, every song, and the importance. So if you guys are chiefing, it's gonna be cheers time, and then we'll get right back into this. Cheers, guys. Oh, damn. All right, guys. So, Sundowning begins with the second song. It's the first song on the album, but the song that I would hear second by Sleep Token, and this was the one that did it to me. My dad says, or Robert Rhodes says, I think everyone could have their own journeys inside this music. Yeah, dude, and that's I guess for me, Sleep Token could just be your normal everyday fucking band, right? That like, they just make songs. They're not anonymous. They're not wearing. They don't have this gimmick. People would say. I don't think it would be as important, guys. I think there's a reason, again, that this story is being told. And yeah, everybody, you sit down and listen to an album, you might not have those same vibes that I had while I was going through the shit that I was going through. But So the first song off of Sundowning is the second song that I ever heard by Sleep Token, and it's the one that fucking grabbed me. The song is called The Night Does Not Belong to God, and this is just Vessel, and it's very much like Calcutta. They said this song serves as a way to get us up to speed on Vessel and Sleep's relationship. Sleep comes to Vessel when he falls asleep and talks to him then. Vessel sees this as pure bliss as he repeats, "The night comes down like heaven," which is the main chorus of this song. Vessel also knows Sleep will not be his, which he says, "You will not be mine," which acts as foreshadowing for the rest of the album as he slowly realizes Sleep does not care about his well-being and is with him only for their own selfish interests. So if you guys have been following so far, we've seen Sleep show, or Vessel show, his devotion to Sleep on a crazy way, and Sleep finally believe Vessel and finally start to really take over him. But as soon as it starts to really get the hooks in, Vessel's like, fuck, this deity is not who the fuck they said they were. They don't act as how they used to act. They're not really in this shit for me. They're really in this shit for themselves. So then you have the offering, which basically is just summed up as Vessel offers himself up to Sleep and is fully devoted to them. More references to Vorophilia with Take a Bite. So that is, he says that in the song The Offering, which is the second song off of Sundowning. He also says, "You got diamonds for teeth, my love, so take a bite." The next song is Levitate, and it says, as Vessel thinks about why Sleep is so distant with him, he tries to empathize with Sleep and considers that maybe Sleep themselves are hurt, but of course they aren't. Vessel offers Sleep comfort and reassurance that he can lift them up, which is another lyric, but secretly knows they will levitate where he can't reach them. And I basically should do that from here on out. That way you guys know if I'm putting in quotes while I'm discussing this, that in quotes is a song lyric. It says, he knows Sleep is unattainable and only comes to him when they want something from him. The next song is called Dark Signs. This song is amazing, guys. All of their music is great, but they just have these standout songs that you could definitely relate to. So Dark Signs is Vessel reflecting on his childhood briefly before admitting that he saw red flags when he and Sleep met, and he misses the man that he was and hates what he's become, which is what he says in the chorus of Dark Signs. He says basically he hates who he's become. What is the exact lyrics again? This will bother me, so I gotta remember it. He says, I hate who I have become every time I wake up. He misses the man that he was when they were together, pretty much, under the influence of Sleep. So he does so every time he wakes up, which again is another lyric further suggesting this. Even though he wasn't a great man before he met Sleep, he is noticeably worse now. So basically just full on giving himself to Sleep and like at times in a reckless light. And then Dark Signs is followed up by a song called Higher, and this is Vessel realizes his relationship with Sleep is worse for him in the end. They are killing him slow, because in the song he says, "You're taking your time, you are killing me slow." And he is granting them more than the debt that he owes. Or he says more than the debt that you owe, basically. Meaning he is giving sleep much more than he owes them. But he is still committed and believes every battle they have will take them higher. So every time that they have, this relationship is already built on this toxic foundation. And that all of these battles that they have will make them stronger in the end. That's what Higher is about. Take Aim is the next song off of Sundowning, and it is Vessel realizing Sleep does not have his best interest in mind. So you can see Vessel keeps going back and forth with himself about this. He keeps giving in to Sleep, but then realizing slowly that this is not good for him. So Vessel realizes Sleep does not have his best interest in mind and led him on when the moment was perfect, but he's not ready to give up on the relationship. He's still bargaining with them, or with Sleep. Take Aim is followed up by a song on Sundowning called Give, and Give implores Sleep to be open with him and tell him they comfort him, and he wants to do the same. So, then we go to Gods, which is, if you've never heard Gods, Gods is the first really heavy song by Sleep Token. And people that have been following Sleep Token up to this point, when they heard Gods, were like, holy shit. Which is probably the same way a lot of people feel about Vor off of Take Me Back to Eden. Both of those songs, Gods and Vor, are both easily Sleep Token's heaviest songs. There are gatekeepers out there that would consider, their Sleep Token's not metal. And it's like, bro, there's 8-string guitars in their shit. They have an insane drummer. I don't know, like, even if they're not metal, bro, just fucking enjoy their music, man. Why does everything have to be labeled? I don't get that. Just enjoy what the fuck you enjoy. So, Gods, their heaviest song, their first heaviest song, is Vessel is driven to the brink and in a fit of rage reflects on what he is and what perhaps Sleep has become to him. He questions Sleep and asks if they like the way their relationship feels. So this is Vessel basically discussing that with Sleep during the song Gods. Sugar is the next song, and it says, despite all the doubts he had, Vessel relapses hard into his infatuation with Sleep. He knows Sleep is toxic, but romanticizes his situation, and he sees himself putting his feelings away and clinging onto the relationship as not giving up. So now Vessel is all in again. And it's a roller coaster, guys. The next song is called Say That You Will on Sundowning, and it says, Vessel desperately tries to have a conversation with Sleep and says he knows they're planning to leave in the end, which is a lyric, but wants them to tell him pretty lies and is willing to compromise even at the expense of his own well-being. So basically, Vessel is obviously willing to put Sleep's feelings and this relationship before his own now, and doesn't even care about himself at this point. Loses himself pretty much. The song after that on Sundowning is called Drag Me Under, and Vessel falls deeper into the toxic relationship, believing they are meant to be, and implores Sleep to drag him further into the relationship. Then you have Bloodsport, which is a song that I was talking about earlier, and it's been brought up to Vessel. There have been people that feel like when Vessel cries during these songs in concert, that he's faking this. Again, you can take that however you want. You could say that Vessel's faking it, or if you've ever seen him live, there are specific points in the songs where I feel this would be something that was hard for me to do night in and night out. If this shit really happened to you with this person, set aside this deity, then you imagine playing these songs over and over. And at this point, Sleep Token's probably pushing 100 shows a year. So I feel and I felt seeing them live, I don't think that Vessel crying in a song is a front or a in the wrestling world they would call it a work, where it's faked. I don't feel it's that way. But maybe that's just my opinion. And again, everybody can ride their own wave with this, but that's my thoughts. So Bloodsport summarizes the revelations Vessel has had throughout the course of the album. He wants Sleep to open up to him. He knows his love is unrequited, but he's willing to stay at his own expense. This is also the first time the relationship between Sleep and Vessel is given a chemical connotation, suggesting that it's much deeper connection. Vessel breaks down crying at the end of the song, feeling helpless. And the reason why they're giving it a chemical connotation is, or a chemical connection, is because Vessel says in the song, somewhere in the quantum pattern, basically that this died out on a chemical level. What is his exact words? Basically, an atom not connecting and then caused this whole downfall, Vessel says multiple things in this song where you can tell that he's willing to basically give up himself and his own feelings to basically choke on. He says, allow me to choke on my own sins. Basically, he's willing to just do whatever to keep this going. So then you have their second full-length album, which is called This Place Will Become Your Tomb. And not that there aren't water references in the original shit, but this CD or this album really fucking started that. And you start with the song called Atlantic. So this is crazy. And I think that this is why there's a lot of rumors, and I'm not going to go into the rumors on this episode because I think that is delving into shit that I'm not comfortable talking about with Sleep Token. And what I mean by that is I'm just not willing to talk about their actual identities, and I promise you guys, if anybody goes out of their way to look up who Sleep Token is, it ain't going to change a fucking thing for you at the end of the day. Because these are people that you probably didn't know. They were in bands that you never heard of. They just weren't big here in the States. They're from the UK. I just am not comfortable ever discussing their... Not on a full on saying their fucking names publicly and live and shit like that. I'm not into doing that. And I never will be, because really it's more so about their music at this point than who the fuck they are. Vessel in this whole thing is just a character, so the person that plays Vessel doesn't technically matter in the ride of Sleep Token. You know what I mean? And I'm glad that he did it that way. because it's truly about this story that he's telling. It's truly about the character of Vessel. It's truly about the music. Who he is doesn't matter, and I can promise you it wouldn't change a thing if you knew who all of them were right now. It wouldn't change anything. And with that being said, I just will never be comfortable. I feel it's disrespectful to the band because that's their vibe. You know what I mean? That's what they're shooting for. Anyways, Atlantic, again, this, I believe, sparked some rumors. If you know, you know. But this starts with Vessel wakes up in the hospital after a failed suicide attempt, perhaps to sever his connection with sleep. So him permanently ending his life would have permanently ended his relationship with sleep, or sleep basically taking him over. And is talked about through the damage. The way that he describes this shit in the song is fucking mind. And that's another thing that needs to be said about Vessel is, if you don't like their music, read their lyrics and just tell me this motherfucker does not know how to write and eloquently use words, and just it's the way that he writes things and the story that he tells that it's super unique to me, and it's a breath of fresh air. Regardless of whether you want to call them metal or not, I will consider them metal. So in a scene that is fucking oversaturated right now, I feel Sleep Token is a breath of fresh air, dude. But so it says, he begs not to be woken up and slowly falls back into sleep's grasp throughout the course of this album. The next song is called Hypnosis. Vessel implores sleep to once again lift him out and offers himself to them despite knowing how much it affected him. The Offering, which is the song we discussed on Sundowning, was the same, but he did not know. This song is sadder because he is helpless even after knowing, and offers himself up to sleep the same exact way. So, The Offering, Vessel didn't really know what Sleep's intentions were, and that Sleep was just there to use him. So now Vessel does know, and he's still offering himself up the same way. Then the song after Hypnosis on This Place Will Become Your Tomb is Mine, and Vessel believes the relationship is destined to be, and that no matter how much he tries to distance himself from sleep, they'll surely cross paths again. He lies to himself more to make himself feel okay instead of facing the truths that he's being used. The next song is called Like That, and Vessel is once again reminded of how toxic the relationship is and asks how Sleep is okay with doing this to him, asking if they like that, which is a lyric and the main title of the song. He knows he is one of many previous victims. He is aware of his inability to let go no matter how badly Sleep treats him. So Vessel is just not able to let go of Sleep at this point on a mental level at all. The next song is called The Love That You Want, and another great video of theirs. This video and another song that's coming up in this, they were released way before this album was released. So there will be people that will be like, I first heard Alkaline then, and then there are other people like, oh, that didn't come out until This Place Will Become Your Tomb. No, Alkaline and The Love That You Want were both singles that were released off of the album, but way before the album was released. And the way that they release things is crazy. They released all of these... I believe This Place Will Become Your Tomb is the album that they did it on. Every single song kind of had coordinates, and if you used those coordinates together, it came up to, like, I believe it was like Mariana's Trench, where it's like, the deepest part of the ocean that we know absolutely nothing about. You know what I mean? So, more shit to interpret however the fuck you want to interpret it. But, so you have The Love That You Want is Vessel tries to have a conversation with Sleep, believing they saw something in him the time that they met, and tells them he's still the same person, but he knows he'll never be who they want. Then you have Fall For Me, which is the next song. Continuing from the previous song, The Love That You Want, Vessel desperately implores Sleep to fall for him again, because that's what he has convinced himself to believe that was. So he is so fucking far gone now that he is convinced, he's trying to convince Sleep that he's still this person that they were, and it doesn't matter that Sleep doesn't want him for this. Sleep is still ultimately going to use him. So then you have Alkaline, is the next song. Vessel is infatuated again and can't explain it, even though he knows Sleep is changing him. He refuses to do anything about it because he enjoys the ride, and there are more chemical references in this song. Specifically in Alkaline, he says, "She's not acid nor alkaline. Not either day or night, not quite black nor white. She's perfectly misaligned." And I might have just got those lyrics wrong. I'm just trying to tell you guys them off the top of my head, but I can promise you, if we were sitting here, I know the words to every fucking Sleep Token song because I've listened to them so many fucking times, but just trying to randomly go in and pick out these bits is a bit hard for me. Distraction. Vessel realizes his distractions in the song following Alkaline. Vessel realizes he's past the point of no return and it's too late for him, which he repeats more over and over again. That's how the song actually ends, is it fading out to Vessel continuously saying it's too late for him. Or it's too late for me, he says. He's fallen in too deep with the relationship with him and Sleep. Then the next song is called Descending, and Vessel is actually very stern with Sleep and says things for what they are for the first time. The next song is Telomeres, or Telomeres. Vessel seemed really convinced on the previous track, but now he's back to romanticizing his relationship and acknowledges that Sleep provided him with comfort. So that's what he's stuck on, just comfort. He is continuing to put himself on the line because he's comfortable. This part of the album is very confusing as Vessel changes his mind about the relationship with every song. The way I see it is it's him trying to make sense of the relationship, and he feels conflicted. My dad said, "Be right back." All right, dude. We'll catch you shortly. Then that song is followed with High Water. Vessel chooses to ignore his own doubts about the relationship again, even though he knows it's not the best for him. So I do believe that Vessel is just conflicted at this point. And this place you can see a cycle is happening. Vessel starts out just trying to convince Sleep that Sleep is all he wants, and him slowly realizing how toxic this is for one another, but then he keeps going back and forth with himself. Missing Limbs. Wow, that was a hard one for me to watch live, guys. That song is, even though I've said When the Bow Breaks is my favorite song by Sleep Token, and my second favorite song would probably be The Night Does Not Belong to God, Missing Limbs is fucking, bro, that shit hits home, dude, and it hits you right in the feels. And this song live is crazy because it's just Vessel on stage. Vessel plays the guitar and he sings the whole song, and it is fucking heartbreaking, dude. Vessel has another imaginary conversation. This is where Vessel starts to think about Eden again. So Missing Limbs is basically about Eden. Vessel has another imaginary conversation, probably a dream, talking to Eden, saying he still loves her and his relationship with the sleep is losing its allure. Now, everybody that's just joining in, or if you watch this video down the road, again, I can't reiterate this only so many fucking times. This is not word for word what is happening or what they want you to believe. That's another thing. I don't want to ever disrespect the band in a sense of, I wouldn't ever want to tell somebody something about their story that is nothing. You know, it's not true. There's no. Here's the thing, though, guys. Again, this is to be interpreted how you interpret it. Similar as Bill and my dad were talking about in chat. You know, everybody is going to take a separate journey on this shit. You know, you might get out of this something so different, but out of all the research that I did on their lore, I feel this is the best interpretation that I ever read, and it made sense to me. So immediately I was like, okay, if I do another Sleep Token podcast episode, I really have to tell this interpretation because it's the way that it was simplest broken down for me, and it makes sense. You know, it does make sense. Whether it's 100% back-to-back truths, that doesn't matter, because again, this is all to be interpreted. So we get to their final album, guys. We're basically up to date here. So this is their most recent album, released a year ago. The album is called Take Me Back to Eden, and I think that's why the Reddit user that interpreted this named the person Eden, or the past lover Eden, is because it does make all sense. You know what I mean? Especially with the title and some more things that we're going to get into. But this is where things really, really change. So, the first song is called Chokehold. Again, this serves as an update for us setting the scene. Vessel is still firmly in Sleep's grasp, but he's still conflicted at this point and going back and forth with himself on whether he should stay in this or not. The next song is called The Summoning, which is, if you're a newer fan of Sleep Token, The Summoning is probably the reason why that shit blew up overnight. They released it at midnight, and that shit was all over TikTok, and that's why Sleep Token blew the fuck up. The song is, for me, I've heard The Summoning so many times now, and don't get me wrong, I love The Summoning. My dad said, I'm back. I'm glad that you're back, because I was just getting into The Summoning. We're now finished with the interpretation of their second album, and we just started the beginning of their final, well, I won't say it's their final album, but their third full release, which is called Take Me Back to Eden. And I think this is the most important part of this story. And The Summoning, all I can say is If you're not a fan of Sleep Token, you've never heard Sleep Token before, listen to The Summoning. I've heard it so many times that it doesn't have that same fucking vibe to me. But this song musically puts Sleep Token into an absolute fucking different category, man. Like, the funky breakdown that you hear at the end of this song, you cannot fucking not bob your head. And I'm saying absolute funk. Like, the bass line is funky. If you've heard The Summoning, you already know what the fuck I'm talking about. If you've never listened to a Sleep Token song ever again, or you've never heard them, listen to The Summoning, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. This song is a fucking ride in itself. It goes through very separate parts. There's a part where that has blast beat drums, and it's like, even if that's not your thing, it doesn't last long, but I think that this song shows how fucking musically creative that Sleep Token really is. So if you're a fan of music, man, bro, listen to The Summoning. Yes, funky like Bootsy Collins. That's exactly what I'm talking about. If you listen to The Summoning, at the end of The Summoning, in live, oh man, dude, it gives me chills to even talk about the funk of the end of the song. Bro, they could have kept going with that shit for another 3-4 minutes, and I can guarantee you people would have still been like jamming out with it. It just hits different, dude. It hits different. And I can't build up The Summoning enough and say that, like, if you ever doubted Sleep Token's talent, this song, bro, if Vessel's voice, I've heard people say Vessel's voice is just not for me. But for me, they were I said it earlier, they were the only band for me that I've ever absolutely fallen in love with, because I'm a guitar player, based on vocals, dude. Like, they're one of the only bands that I heard their singer and was just like, God damn, dude. Wow. So, The Summoning. Vessel talks about how his relationship with sleep is, and Vessel talks about how his relationship with sleep is, and he presents it in a very romantic way, like they were destined to be together, even though throughout the course of the album he finds the strength to move on from sleep. In Granite, Vessel says things for what they are again, and seems very empowered, like he's finally seeing the relationship from the perspective of an outsider and for what it is. And the crazy part about Granite is, he says, I was more than just a body in your passenger seat. I was more than just a person you were destined to meet. Bro, when I first heard those lyrics, I was like, holy fuck, dude. Like, again, if you're a dude and romance and love and shit like that isn't cool for you to talk about, probably not going to be the podcast for you. But I really fucking think that the older you get, the more you'll think about shit like this. And maybe that's what it is for me with Sleep Token, is I'm this cranky old man now that's just ready to be the happiest ever in my life. And, you know, Sleep Token had a way of convincing me of a lot of things. And we're going to get into that shortly. So, Aqua Regia is the next song, and Aqua Regia, correct me if I'm wrong, but it is a type of chemical that is used to like clean gold, or basically like, let me look. I don't want to fuck this up, guys. I don't want to give you guys some definition of something I'm totally wrong. Yeah, it's so again, you know, Sleep Token is constantly referencing vorophilia, water, and chemicals and shit. So aqua regia is Latin for royal water and is a solution of nitrohydrochloric acid. The traditional solution is comprised of a 3-to-1 mixture of hydrochloric acid and nitric acid, respectively, and it's a fuming liquid. But yes, so that maybe might make sense for everybody why the song is called Aqua Regia if you've listened to it. But I've also noticed that this is just a more summarized version of what the Redditor posted, and I might even post a link to that Reddit because that Reddit goes into more than what I'm talking about with you guys. But I just wanted a simplified version of explaining this to people that are new to this shit as far as the Sleep Token shit. And if you never want to go down their lore rabbit hole, that's cool, bro. Their music still fucking shines, dude. I can't credit this band enough. First of all, most people would probably know me as this dude that listens to heavy ass fucking music and you can't hear a word that these dudes say. Sleep Token is quite the opposite of what most people would have expected me to fall in love with. But I'm glad that I did. They saved my fucking life. And they opened my mind to so much more music. I stopped being this weird-ass metalhead that, like, the purist, you know what I mean? If it isn't fucking metal, it doesn't matter. Like, nah, dude. Fuck all that. Listen to what you want to listen to, bro. I might not dig it, and I might tell you, like, yeah, I'm not really a fan of that person, or I'm not really a fan of this. I still respect their shit. I'm always going to say that at the end of the day. Not a huge fan of AC/DC. I feel they're a band that's too consistent to me. But I respect what they brought to the table at the point that they brought it to the table, and am I bothered and like gonna fucking lose my mind if I hear a song by them? No. So there's, Bill and I have discussed it in here several times. You like what you like, man. It's cool. I don't expect everybody to love Sleep Token, and I'm stoked that you guys are. There are some people in here that probably never listened to Sleep Token, or you might have listened to a couple songs and been like, yeah, they're really not my thing. I'm stoked that you guys stayed in long enough to listen and be open-minded because it very well could change your opinion on them. I think that music like this does not get written for no reason. I can't stress that enough. This wasn't a couple dudes sitting in a garage going, guys, how can we get rich here? Or maybe it was, and I'm totally wrong. But I don't think you write music like this without feeling this shit. There's no way, dude. There's no way you'll ever get me to believe that. No way. Anyways, guys. Yeah, Bill, same with me, dude. I listen to all kinds of shit. I mean, dude, my dad will tell you. I just went over his house a couple weekends ago and got vinyl records like the Thompson Twins and Chicago and Michael Jackson, and like, dude, I just love music, bro. But I'm one of those people, and maybe it's, they say people that are empaths like literally obsess over music. You heard the term savant, which most people would be like, oh, I'm not that. But it's like, I am to an extent. I have to admit it, to an extent. I'm not like obsessed fangirl fan, you know what I mean? But believe me, I've been down the Sleep Token rabbit hole since middle to late 2020, dude. So we're going on 4 years of a fucking ride of shit that I keep finding out that I never knew, or it's endless, dude. And their music I could listen to over and over and over again, and it does, because it's all so different and all so unique. Like, not one song sounds the same. So All right, we talked about Aqua Regia. Like I said, Vessel talks more about his relationship with sleep, but wants to move on. In the song, he says, "I'm done dancing to alarm bells." So that's him just basically saying, like, he's done with the shit. So then you have Vor, which is the next song, which I discussed with you guys earlier. Vessel feels his vorophilic urges again and wishes to be swallowed whole by sleep, but he acknowledges that he is suffering and asks sleep if they are in pain like he is. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Scott. I appreciate it, bro. So yeah, Vor is one of their heavier songs. Some people wouldn't be able to listen to Vor because it is very heavy and it's so different from most of Sleep Token shit. But I promise you, if you listen to Vor side by side while reading the lyrics, bro, this song is fucked up, dude. Like, again, you don't write songs like this without feeling a certain way. Then you have Ascensionism. Much like Granite, Vessel is very empowered here, and he no longer feels helpless and asks Sleep to watch him ascend. He fully acknowledges that Sleep makes him wish he could disappear, which he screams at the end of the song. It's taken him so long to fully admit this, though. You guys have been on the ride, this far. Yeah, Keith. Keith said DMX slipping for me. Yeah, bro. I know what you mean, dude. What's crazy is that was a big song for me as a teenager, dude. So I think that, you just have these songs or musicians or whatever it is that you fucking relate to, but I think Sleep Token fell into my lap at a time where I needed it in my life. And how do you repay something like that? You know what I mean? It's no different than I am about how I am with Sevidemic. Sevidemic came into my life at a point where I needed something like that. So how do I repay this man but support him as much as I fucking possibly can? And so Sleep Token will always be that band for me, dude. Whether you're an old Sleep Token fan or you're a new Sleep Token fan, there was a point in my fucking ride through Sleep Token early in the beginning. Like I said, I listened to them at the end of 2019. But even in that time, I saw their numbers and I was like, bro, how is this band not getting the love that they need, that they deserve? And I didn't think it would happen overnight, but it did. So then we get to Are You Really Okay? And then this is another song where he finally, Vessel, fully confronts Eden about her self-harm and begs her not to hurt herself again. He finally feels empathy for others and slowly transforms into a better person. So, you are towards the end of this album. Dad, we discussed this with the Rush vinyl, right? The Rush vinyl that you just got me, Caress of Steel. You listen to this vinyl, and it's like they're telling a story from the beginning to the end, minus the I Think I'm Going Bald song. Now, if you just jumped in, I know this is going to all sound out of context, but we're talking about a Rush album that was their most unique album. But the crazy unique part about it is, if you listen to this album, it's like they're telling a story, and the fucking vibe of the album goes along with this, like a roller coaster. Like when they can finally breathe again, the whole music is like all uplifting, and so you start to see those types of things with Take Me Back to Eden, and specifically towards the end of this album. Vessel is starting to really catch himself, and like his confidence is starting to come back, and so it really is the tale or an arc of the redemption of this character Vessel. And So, are you really okay? We just said, but this is where Vessel basically starts to show empathy, and this song is so different. To be honest with you guys, and people can take it however. It's my least favorite song on the new album, Take Me Back to Eden. I don't skip it. I still listen to it. It is heavy, dude. I'm not saying heavy as in metal heavy. Heavy as in feelings heavy. Actually, my dad would probably get a kick out of this song, and the reason being is when I first heard "Are You Really Okay?" it sounds literally like the opening strings, the opening riff of the guitar sounds exactly like a Led Zeppelin song to me. I don't know what Led Zeppelin song it is, but it might be Over the Hills and Far Away or whatever that song is. I believe that's the name of the song. But it's so crazy how uplifting, or it's not really so much uplifting. The music is very uplifting, but this is Vessel talking with his past basically, and like finally realizing the fucking person that he was, and that all of this he allowed all of this to happen. Again, he showed empathy for the first time, acknowledged her feelings for the first time, or their feelings for the first time. So then you have the apparition after "Are You Really Okay?" Vessel asks Sleep why they were never real, and why they leave every time he awakes. But he also wants to nihilistically make trouble in the dream world, because this could be the last time, suggesting that he wants to move on. So again, in quotes, those are lyrics of the song. Again, this is just a summarized version of the Reddit version, so they're not exact lyrics of the song, but it's basically puts into summary why these lyrics stand out and what he's talking about. All right. So we find out in the end of Apparition that basically, like it's saying, this could be the last time. I believe that the lyrics are, "This could be the last time that you will ever be in the reveries of my mind." So basically, this is the last time he ever wants to even think about sleep. The next song is DYWTYLM, and it just stands for "Do You Wish That You Loved Me?" Now, when I first heard this song, I would have sworn that this song is about a person. And if you listen to this song, you probably would think it's about another person as well. But anybody that listens to "Do You Wish That You Loved Me?" or DYWTLYM, it's on the newest album. If you listen to this from the perspective of Vessel talking to himself, like this song is to himself, it makes so much more sense, in a sense of, he talks about like how he has problems that he can't even smile at himself in the mirror, and he could be saying, "Do you wish that you loved me?" to himself, because at this time, if he would have only loved himself, this shit with sleep would have never have happened. And he was vulnerable. He allows sleep to take over, even at the cost of his own feelings, well-being, him being a priority, any of that shit. So this song is throughout his life and throughout the course of his relationship with sleep, Vessel has dealt with an immense amount of self-hatred and can't even smile at himself in the mirror. This song is really sad, but it also shows Vessel's willingness to heal from his trauma and become a better person and learn to love himself instead of just escaping and run away from his problems like he used to. So the next song is Rain. Vessel acknowledges how much he has changed, perhaps with sleep or just from the time he was born, when he was a good person, and he asks an unknown force to cleanse him of his sins. This force isn't sleep at this point because Vessel is pretty clear about moving on. Then you have Take Me Back to Eden. This is the final time Vessel addresses sleep, and it's a huge tribute to sleep, without whom he would not have improved, but he also acknowledges the toxicity of the relationship, but in a mature way. He looks back at his journey he has had and has a mature outlook on it. He was treated badly by sleep, but he was also bad, and he's ready to move on. So, again, he's acknowledging that he did hurt Eden. He was this bad person at points in time, but finally taking accountability for these things. The last song and almost the end of this lore discussion is Euclid, and it says, in the aftermath of it all, Vessel is ready to shed his former self and become someone new. He calls back to the night does not belong to God, just as a tribute to acknowledge how far he has come and what a journey it has been. So, guys, this is where shit starts to really blow my mind. First of all, we've already talked about how I love the song "The Night Does Not Belong to God" is so important to me in my story and with Sleep Token. At the end of Euclid, this is where things get crazy. First of all, we'll finish what they said. This is my interpretation of just the lyrics of the songs and the story they tell. I understand that there's much more lore to be found in Sleep Token. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Worship. So, guys, you could say, first of all, I want to explain that in the end of Euclid, it's insane to me as a person that started listening to them heavy in mid 2020. And the song "The Night Does Not Belong to God" hooking me, right? I absolutely love this song. I love everything about this song. But the crazy part about this is, the song is called "The Night Does Not Belong to God," right? At the end of Euclid, he says, and this is right before this huge, powerful ending, and that's the only way that I can describe this shit. He says, "The night belongs to you. This bow has broken through." And then it cuts into them. That's what I was saying at the end, that he calls back to "The night does not belong to God." So it literally transitions musically and everything back to the first song off of Sundowning, "The Night Does Not Belong to God." And it is, if you're not expecting it, guys, I probably ruined it for you if you haven't heard it. If you're not expecting it, man, wow, was that mind-blowing the first time that I ever listened to that, and I'll tell you why. This person that interpreted it this way, okay, that they feel that he calls back to "The night does not belong to God" just as a tribute to acknowledge how far he has come and what the journey it has been. Now, that can be interpreted that way, or, guys, call me crazy, but the first time that I ever heard this shit, when I listened to all of these albums front to end or front to back, it felt to me that it could be interpreted as an endless cycle, that the beginning of this shit, the night does not belong to God. And even the crazier part about this, guys, is I think, to go with what this person said, I would think that their theory is probably the one that makes more sense. And I'll not only tell you why, but I'll show you why. So, Euclid. Okay. In the Take Me Back to Eden, there is a character for every single song. I don't know how to describe it other than that. If you watch all the videos that they have for Take Me Back to Eden songs, they all have a character that the video is basically focused on. But if you get the vinyl, in the vinyl is, first of all, a gatefold, so it opens, and it's a double LP. So in the second pocket, if you didn't notice this and you have the vinyl, not only is there a dust cover, but there is also a booklet. I didn't realize this at first when I first got the album. Actually, I didn't realize it for about a week after I had the album. I went to put the second disc, or the second record, back into the cover, and I noticed this thicker thing that was not a fucking dust cover. So I pull it out, and it's literally it's just a art book with every single character that every single song represents on Take Me Back to Eden, which, if you looked into that, you could fall down a whole nother rabbit hole. But I just want to show everybody. Hold on here. Let's go to, we do podcast view, and we do let's see if we can. Let's see if we can bring up Euclid on. I'll just bring up Euclid on YouTube here. And the reason why I feel this is important, guys, don't tell me they don't have a. Okay. I believe I found it. Just run it back. Hold on, let me make sure that this is not. Yeah, this is. Where the fuck? All right. So back to what those guys were saying, or that Reddit poster was saying, was that basically I first originally looked at this as a never-ending cycle, right? But if you view it from the standpoint of what this person is saying, it would be the ending of a cycle, right? So the reason I think that this is important is because if we transition here, hold on here. Why is this not showing? There we go. All right, you can see this character here. This is the last character on the album. Actually has a knife in his hand, and he has Vessel's head in his other hand. And a lot of people, so they accidentally released basically all the lyrics for this before the album came out, and with that happening, we got all of the different characters for every single one of the singles that were being released, and the characters that would be featured on the full length. So you could look at this, and everybody kept saying, and I thought, at first you would think as a fan of the band, like, oh, this could very well be the end of Sleep Token. That this character, they've cut off Vessel's head, but it could be really just viewed as the ending of a cycle. Considering I have a Vessel mask here, right? And same amount of eye slots there, 1, 2, 3 on each side, so 6 total. Now, I don't know what the dots on the forehead have to do with anything. There's also a lot of cryptic shit going on around this time. Sleep Token has their own runes that form an alphabet. So they were releasing all this information, and fans could only figure out what they were saying by deciphering these fucking ciphers. So, if you were a fan of Sleep Token around the same time that all of this shit was going on, chances are you ended up with one of the keys. I still have a key to their cipher that has literally every single one of their alphabet letters, and it makes sense because, you open the vinyl, and the vinyl is covered with these runes, and basically it's the album "Take Me Back to Eden" is written right on the front of the album cover in these runes or glyphs or whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? The album features all of these things. So I don't know. Me personally, when I first saw that character, I felt Sleep Token was kind of doomed. But again, if it isn't a never-ending cycle, and it's a breaking of a cycle, and it meant the end of Sleep Token, I'm glad that Vessel got all of this shit off of his chest, and I'm saying that 100% because I do feel that this was all a metaphor. And I don't know exactly what the metaphor is. I do know some things about the person that is Vessel. There are rumors that I've heard. I don't want to really get into all of that shit, but the rumors were kind of, at first you would hear them and think that they're absurd, but then you could make sense of them with their lyrics. So, I mean, it's like, I don't really know. And maybe that's where their lyrics being interpreted ended up with all of this shit together. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's either here nor there, pretty much at the end of the day. But, so, you've heard all of this shit. So, 2019 rolls around, and this is where we get into my story. This is going to be a hard one for me, dudes, because, man, it's not cool that Bill said this would make for a great book. Bro, I'm telling you, dude, like, people wonder why I'm so obsessed with Sleep Token, and I literally could give you a million reasons, and this is just another huge one, dude. This is just another huge one. Again, if you walk away from Sleep Token and you don't like their music, dude, it's crazy. Almost everybody at my work now loves Sleep Token. My mom, I believe, just ordered all of their CDs. They're a band that's super important to me, and I am glad that people around me recognize all of this shit. You know what I mean? Like, recognize that their importance or things like that. So, before we get into my story, I know it's probably not a good idea to do this with what I'm about to talk about, but we're going to do a dab. And before we do this dab, I am not going to be saying anybody's names in... I'll talk about names that are relative to this story, my story, but I'm not going to name other people involved, because not only do I feel that they're not, that it might not be relevant at this point. Damn it, that means I'm going to have to come off the cash to get the albums now. I'm telling you, Dad, I really hope. This is a band, I don't even know how to explain them to you, dude. If I don't, the only thing that I can say is, you know, the summoning might be a little bit too heavy for your liking at points. It's not heavy all the way through. I've always said, if I had to pick one song to show somebody that's never listened to Sleep Token before, it's really hard for me. It's really hard for me to pick one song, but I'm going to say two. Listen to Alkaline, or watch the video for Alkaline. That song is amazing, super relatable if you have a person in your life that you love so much. And the other one would have to be The Night Does Not Belong to God. And the reason I say that is The Night does not belong to God. It's slow moving at the beginning, but the fucking pace of that song is perfect to me. I can't even describe to you Vessel's keyboard abilities, let alone his voice. If you've never heard his voice, but yeah, I am not going to discuss people's names other than super important shit to this story. So. One of them was actually just in here earlier, my cousin Jason. I don't know if he's still in here, but he was around for the real end of this story, and it was almost a bad ending, guys. And again, I've said it before in another, I think it was in a Siphon Filter video where I was talking about working on this podcast episode, and obviously there's somewhat of a happy ending here. You know what I mean? Hmm. Hmm. Oh boy. So when I say um, when I say that this shit is rough for me, it's not really so much dealing with the emotions of what happened or the things that I experienced or the downward spiral that was going on. Yeah, cheers, guys. It's more so, this is a super it's embarrassing. You know, it's embarrassing that it got to this. Um, and this is me basically being fully transparent, dude. You know, it's hard for me to tell a story like this without, I guess, for lack of better words, feeling naked, because I'm opening myself up for the first time about all this shit. And I won't say for the first time, because there's some shit that happened along the way that made me get the help that I needed. And I say that on a mental level. But so basically, 2019, I think late 2019, I'd been in a, and again, when I say this shit, I'm not going to point fingers. I'm not naming names. I'm holding myself 100% accountable for my parts of these things. So if this person ever fucking sees this shit, they can't go. Continue to hold me as the villain in their story, and that's cool if I am. I'm okay with that. I'm at a different point in my fucking life now, and those around me that truly know me probably have noticed a major change in the last 5 years. So, I was in, pretty much for the last 15 years of the relationship, a really toxic fucking relationship. And again, before we dive into this, I can't stress enough, none of what I'm saying right now, this toxic relationship, I know how you could relate that to like, oh, Vessel was in this toxic relationship with Sleep. That's not why this matters to me. None of that shit, as far as the toxic relationship shit, matters to me in my story and how my story matched up with Sleep Tokens, or why that I'm telling you their lore and then telling you my story. So basically, the last 15 years of the relationship that I was in, that I started when I was 16, it kind of had to come to an end. I was miserable. Said person was miserable. And, you know, in a positive relationship, in a true relationship or a partnership, you don't have arguments to, you don't have arguments to, for victory purposes. You have tiny little arguments or fights just so that you can move on from the situation. This definitely was not the case with this person. And, you know, maybe, you know, Sevedemic and I have talked about this several times. And, you know, there was one point where there were some things that were happening that Sev was trying to relate to me, or not, I should say, relay to me, that I wasn't really listening to. There were things that my dad was saying to me that I wasn't really listening to. There were things that a lot of people were saying to me that I wasn't really listening to. And I think the reason being for that is, when you're in a relationship for that long and certain things happen, you know, you're called a narcissist every day. You're accused of gaslighting this person, which are all fucking trendy words, and the people using these words 9 times out of 10 don't even know what the fuck they're talking about. And narcissists don't hold themselves accountable, which I'm sitting here doing right now. So, all of these things considered, guys, I actually had a kind of a life-changing trip. I went down to Florida to see my dad get married. And while I was down in Florida, the person that I was married to, that is my ex-wife, divorces or dissolution is finalized and everything, and has been for a little bit now. This person not only didn't want to go, but they didn't want me going. And I felt the most respectful thing to do was to go to be there for my father. And anybody that's been in my shoes probably would feel the same way. And the reason why they didn't want to go is because they simply just didn't want to discuss with our boss at the time that they needed to take time off, because they felt that this person, that our boss, would be mad. And it's like, no, you don't see it. You don't get it. This is my father getting married here. I don't give a fuck what their feelings are. Like, I never asked for days off, nothing like that, blah, blah, blah. So this part doesn't play a huge part in it, but this is the start of things. So I fly out to Florida with my sister, and bro, I had the time of my life in Florida, to the point where it would make me really rethink a lot of life choices that I had made while I was down there. People around me have heard me talk about this story so many times, this part of the story in particular, and I'll never not tell this part, because bro, that trip to Florida was life changing in a sense of like, so we go down to my dad's to see my dad get married, and while we're down there, my dad and his wife had already discussed with us that we were going to be staying at an Airbnb. So we all threw money in to rent this Airbnb and to go to Halloween Horror Nights in Orlando, which is, you guys that watch me a lot already fucking know that that's something that's right up my alley, dude. So we go there, and dudes, I'm having legit the time of my life, and then at the end of the night, I'm having to argue with this person because I'm there supporting my dad, and not only supporting him, but actually enjoying myself. So there was a point in the park towards the end of the trip. I think it was one of the last nights we were there. And I'm like looking up in the sky, and dude, only thing that I can explain is I'm the freest feeling that I've ever been in my life. And what I mean by that is I'm able to be myself. I don't have to walk on eggshells or avoid being a certain way so that somebody doesn't be mad. Like, I had to water myself fucking down, bro. Which over years and years and years and years, bro, that takes its toll. And you actually have to learn to live your life this way. Again, holding myself accountable that I could have left that situation at any time. So I'm not going to sit here and go, well, this person treated me like such and such, and yeah, I just fucking stayed along for the ride. No, I stayed along for guilt purposes, and those people that really know me know what I'm talking about, and it's not really important to the story. Anyways, when I get back, my life is totally different. And what I mean by that is, while we were down there, not only was I loving the music and the vibe of Halloween Horror Nights, but my brain is like, yo, you get to be Prox. You get to be you. You know, and I love to make people laugh, and I really just try to be a fucking good person, dude. Have I made wrong moves and mistakes in my life? Absolutely. Nobody in this bitch hasn't. So, I get back home. My life is completely different at this point because now I know in my head that I can't be myself, and I'm watering myself down for this person. And what am I gaining out of this shit? Like, what's the end all be all? What's the reward for me? Because I'm not saying at this point in time I was putting in 100%. I definitely was not. But what I can say is, I wasn't being a shitty person to this individual. So I decided, I was actually asked to join the job that I have now. I was working in a shithole pizza place, making next to fucking minimum wage, pretty much, just paying my bills and eking by in life. And I was just okay with it because I was comfortable. So, I was offered a job where I work now. I work at a veterinary clinic. I'm not going to put, again, if you know me, you already know where I work. It's not super important, I promise. But I work at a veterinary clinic as a veterinarian's assistant. So I prep surgeries, things like that. But more importantly, I have to work with all females, which I knew was going to cause problems in my marriage, because this person was not okay with me being around any female other than her. And so I start working with these females. Some of these females I'd already worked with before because I had worked in the veterinary field before. And they were already friends of mine. And when I say friends, legit friends. Like they're like sisters to me. However, there was one individual that I did start to like gain these feelings for. And I worked with this person side by side every day. and I didn't have to water myself down, and I didn't have to not be prox, and I didn't have to. Now, granted, nothing physical had happened between me and this person, because that's what I'm getting at. Nothing physical happened between this person and I, because rather than go cheat on my then wife, why would I do that when I could just end the marriage? If I have these feelings for this person, and granted, I know what people are thinking, bro, you work with this person. Right. That's another part of the fucking story. So, rather than do things behind my ex's back, I decided it was important that I end the marriage. So we end the marriage. I move out. I move into my mom's. Things kind of started to go downhill here. And so this is kind of where this overall story begins. But, more importantly, I talked to my dad during this whole process. And my dad said something that stood out to me. Kind of like what he stood out. I didn't even get to explain it at the end of the Orlando trip. But there was a point, and I was looking up at the stars, and my dad's like, "You okay, bud?" And I was zoned out, and then I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good." But like at that point, like I said, I was having that freeing moment. You know what I'm saying? Like this feeling of just like, wow, man, I'm out here in Orlando with my family. I can be me. I'm having the time of my fucking life. And none of these people have a problem with this. Actually, they're enjoying this with me. So you could see why it would be hard for me to go back to the situation. Anyways, so I'm on the phone with my dad, and my dad says something to me. He says, "You seem different down in Florida." And I was like, "What do you mean by that?" And we had already split at this point. It was already, separation was already in progress at this point. So my dad says to me, you seem different down in Florida. And Tanya said the same thing, which is my dad's wife's name. Tanya said the same thing. And I was like, wow. So people actually see this shit. It's not just, I'm not crazy. It felt, I don't know the word for it, justified, I guess, that for once, I wasn't losing my mind. You know what I mean? I'm being manipulated pretty much to believe that I'm this certain way.
That's the end of the story of this.
So, I'm on the phone with my dad, and my dad is like, he tells me this, and then my brain starts fucking turning, dude. And, it's just driving me nuts at this point. I can't believe I've allowed this shit to go on as long as it did, blah, 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 blah. So, I separate, and I start living at my mom's house, which as a older 30 something year old man, yes, reassurance, Dad. Reassurance. That's because, bro, I'm being told every fucking day that I'm gaslighting this person, but yet I'm being made to feel like I can't be around any fucking female because I'm cheating on this person or I'm doing these things. There's a woman in the sewer. So yeah, yes, reassurance is the word that I was looking for, and I needed it at that point in my life. So, at this point, I had already heard Sleep Token, but it wasn't anything really, really major to me. Now, the craziest part of this whole thing, and it's again, this is hard for me to talk about because it's embarrassing and it's kind of like revealing of me. But so I'm living at my mom's. I get a car finally, and this person that things started to kind of like, that I started to have feelings for. Things didn't work out for her and I. At this time, things just didn't work out for her and I. We were both kind of coming out of 20-year relationships with people. It just didn't pan out, right? So I guess the best way to put it is like my eggs were all in one basket. I have these toxic behaviors from the situation that I was in before that really weren't fixed or worked on or anything like that. And Sev even said to me at one point, bro, that's kind of like some PTSD shit. And at the time when he said it to me, I was like, bro, I ain't got no PTSD shit. Like, you know, you want to tell yourself, like, as a dude, like, oh, you know, that ain't me type shit. But when there's these repeated behaviors and repeated reactions, you kind of, it's almost like you Stockholm syndrome yourself. Like, you become so accustomed to this way of living that, like, you expect everybody to react this way. And so I finally kind of had to admit to myself that I needed to work on some shit, and it was hard for me, dude. So while all of this was happening, I met a person. Well, I shouldn't say met a person. I had history with a person. So I started talking to said person. This said person, I'm not going to bring up, obviously, introduces me to something that would kind of be the fucking stick in the spokes. You know what I mean? That brought the whole fucking thing to a halt. Anyways, I had said something about my back hurting. This person offered me a pill, explained to me that basically this pill was methadone. And when I say methadone, most people are like meth, like smoking meth, dude? And it's like, no, not like smoking meth, like literally what they use to get people off of heroin with. Like, it's a basically legalized opiate, you know what I'm saying? If you have a prescription for it. Anyways, I had already known that this person had this shit. So this weak moment that I had, this vulnerable moment that I had, and I'm not going to make excuses, bro. Like, yes, at this point in time, I was pretty much at my weakest, knowing that things with this person that I had all of my eggs in one basket with didn't work out. It was like like pretty much the last piece of my heart broke. You know what I'm saying? So it was like it was kind of like the fucking nail in the coffin, dude. And just this 1 week moment, I said something about my back hurting, kind of more or less knowing that this person had these pills, and that I would be offered them in a sense. And so yeah, I was basically offered this, and I knew it would happen. What started out as something to kind of take my mind off of, I feel like a fucking failure at this point because my marriage failed. I feel like, I couldn't go forward because the person that I was so attached to, things just didn't work out. You know what I mean? So I felt all of these, and then this person that comes in, basically I feel like I was used to make them feel a certain way about themselves, or whatever it was. They knew the type of person that I am, as far as how I consider myself to be a fucking decent human. So it's I think this person knew a lot of that shit. Anyways, this thing, this one little moment would turn into a huge thing. In the sense of like, bro, like I was a person that, like, yeah, y'all see me do dabs quite a bit. I've smoked weed pretty much my whole life. I dabbled in stupid shit when I was younger, not anything like fucking, life ruining or anything like that. If I was at a party or something and somebody was like, hey, do you want a Vicodin or something like that? I was definitely the type of teenager that was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, I just liked to party, but it never got out of hand. You know what I mean? Well, this shit got way out of hand, dude. So out of hand that, most people wouldn't think anything of it, but the only way that I can describe it is, I don't know if it was just me and my body getting used to me putting this shit in it. But basically, when I first started out doing this shit, I would only take a quarter of a pill, and it would make me feel this numbness all fucking day. So I'm going through all of this shit, and this thing just so happened to enter my life, man. And it was like, you don't have to feel shit when you take this. You can just fucking float through the day and nothing matters. And it was really crazy how all of this transpired. But again, I started out just taking just a tiny ass like quarter of this pill, and by the end of this, the crazy part is something was going on, because I would end up taking, and if you've never taken methadone before, I can promise you don't know taking one whole methadone pill took me a while to work myself up to, taking one whole one a day. And for somebody off the streets to just take a methadone pill, dude, you're going to be fucking sleeping in your lap, bro. You're going to be so fucked up that it's not funny. You literally will nod out and shit, like talking to people. So anyways, it got to the point where if I took any more than one a day, like if I took like 1 1/4, the whole next morning, 20 minutes of my next morning was spent just fucking throwing up every fucking morning. And if I had a bad day, which was quite a bit, I took more than one all the time. So 20 minutes of every bit of my fucking morning before I went to work was spent fucking throwing up, dude. Just being sick all morning. Well, I think things just started to continue to spiral down for me in a sense of mentally. I could no longer deal with these major fucking feelings that I was feeling around this time. And again, I'm already moved on from my marriage. Like mentally, I checked out from that shit years ago. So it wasn't about me losing this person. It was about me trying to rebuild myself after basically being in this situation for all this fucking time, dude. And so I got my own apartment, right? And this, at the time of me getting my own apartment, I was in full blown, using one methadone, if not more, every fucking day. And there are some people that would be like, oh, you're a pussy. But it's like, bro, I'm not this hard drug user. Like, one methadone, believe me, is plenty enough. And I'm not condoning drug use. Actually, that's the most embarrassing part of this shit, is having to come forward to people and admit to them, hey, remember when I was all fucking sketched out and weird and shit? Oh, that's because I was all drugged out. But But anyways, so I get my own apartment. I move everything in. At this point in my life, I should be really kind of feeling on top of the world. And don't get me wrong, guys. During this part of my life, I am regaining confidence. Like, if you guys would have saw me 5 years ago, you'd have been like, wow, that dude is a fucking mess, dude. And this is not on drugs. I'm talking during this relationship where I didn't give a fuck how I looked, how I carried myself. I was just like, whatever, dude. I'm spent. So I'm starting to regain confidence back. My drug use is progressing, though, which I think at this time was honestly fueling my confidence. And there was a point where I had to really come to terms with this person was using me, dude. And it was really hard to come to terms with that. And this is where things start to change, or I should say add up to the sleep token shit, right? So I'd already heard Jaws in 2019, late 2019, and we're in mid 2020, late 2020 when I get my apartment. And I didn't have a TV. All I had was my PC that I'm talking to you guys on right now. So when I was there by myself, the only thing I could do, dude, this is me being alone for the first time since I was 16 years old. Me living fully by my first ever place of my own, in 20 years. So I didn't know how to be in my own head, and being in my own head meant severe frustration and depression with myself and all of these, like, I can't believe I fucking let this shit go on so long, and I can't believe that I let this person come into my life and take advantage of me. I had all of this shit running through my head where literally, dude, I didn't care about myself at all anymore. And I'm not talking about the way I looked. I'm talking about I didn't want to exist, bro. I did not want to exist. I was over this whole shit life. So I'm in my apartment, and I'm having to be in my head when I'm not out doing things and running around, and and that's another thing. There were other people involved during this time that definitely got caught up in shit that they never should have got caught up in, or I got caught up in shit that I should have never got caught up in because of the way my mentality was during this time. And that's shit that you can't ever take back, bro. Crushing people and, fucking people over and stuff like that, or even your family members just finally finding out, like, oh, this was what the fuck was wrong with you. So I am going on this kind of more downward spiral at my apartment just because I didn't know how to be alone in my own head. And I should have been on top of the world feeling, mentally. I should have been super appreciative that I had this apartment for the first time in my life, and that, I had this new sense of freedom, and I'm kind of just learning to be myself, but I could not be good in my own company, dude. And it was just hell, dude, the first couple months of this shit. Well, I started not gaming. I started not really doing anything but being fucked up. Yeah, sometimes your head is your own. Dude, Tony, that is, guys, that, again, I'm not going to make excuses for why. It's none of this is really truly nobody's business at the end of the day. But I think this is huge as far as my love for Sleep Token and how they changed things for saved my life, bro, for real. And we're getting there. But that's what caused all this, Tony. Me being in my own head is what made me feel that I didn't deserve to feel happiness, or I didn't deserve to have these things. And so using fucking methadone every day was just easier for me to do because it just fucking helped back up those feelings. I was just like, okay, I don't have to care about none of this shit. And I'm just floating by on fucking life at this point. So I started to go over my cousin Jason's. He was in here earlier. He's probably going to be one of the only people that I actually like bring into name-wise into this story. And I say that because I feel bad because I put Jay in a position that I should have never put Jay in. And he didn't realize it at the time, but it's fucking facts of the matter. So I start hanging out with Jay on the weekends, and you know, Jay's kind of like a social drinker at this point, where you know we just like drink a few beers on the weekend type shit. Well, I wasn't that way. I was a drinker when I was not even of age to drink, pretty much. So I got all that shit out of my way. But at this point in time, I'm already taking methadone. I'm already hating every fucking thing. I just want to make it through feel lucky to make it through every fucking day at this point. And that's how down that I was. A lot of people I didn't really talk to about this because I didn't know how to talk to them about it. And I started to just isolate myself. That's definitely not good. Isolation and drug use is definitely not. They don't go hand in hand, bro. Actually, it's just a fucking recipe for disaster, So I started listening to nothing but music because music was the only thing that I could focus on at this point, and the music was the only thing I could fucking relate to. All of these musicians that I was listening to during this time, most people would listen to their music and be like, bro, that shit's depressing, but it made me feel better, dude. And it made me feel better because it was like, okay, I'm not alone in this shit. Like, this person has gone through the same exact thing, or like, that was the only friend that I could find at the time, other than the methadone that I was taking every fucking day. So I started listening to Sleep Token just because I remembered Jaws, and I was like, man, I wonder if that band, Jaws was kind of a deeply rooted fucking song. I wonder if that band's still around, And I stumbled back across them, and at that time, Sundowning was already out. So I basically had the first two EPs in Sundowning to listen to, and man, I can't tell you guys how many fucking days I sat there and did nothing but stare at a fucking computer screen and just listen to this music, because it was the only way that I could actually feel without feeling. And it was because the things that Vessel was describing, I'm relating to. I'm going through this, medicine for the soul, dude. Like, I'm going through this same shit at the same time. Like, that's how it felt. Like, sleep came in, and fucking there was this relationship that was formed around somebody else benefiting from it. And bro, I didn't know all of this shit at the time, but I can tell you what I did know, that these songs spoke to me on a level that no music has ever spoke to me before. And I started listening to them, but we hadn't gotten to the point of Sleep Token saving my life, and I say that for a reason. I started going to my cousin's on the weekend, and we would put away some alcohol. But one thing I didn't know, I knew I'm not going to say I 100% didn't know. You really should never mix any pill with alcohol, but methadone you really shouldn't mix with alcohol. It can actually cause you to like basically stop breathing when in your sleep. So if you pass out, while you're on alcohol and methadone, you could just literally stop breathing and die, So I'm over at my cousin's. I go to this party. We went to this crazy ass metal show in some random house. It was a metal show in somebody's basement, and it was during the time of COVID. So it was the only concert that I could really go see at the time. And yeah, I partied really a lot more than I should have that night. I didn't. I'd already gone through like a pill and a half while I was at the party, and that's because I was like talking to all these people and smoking weed and just, you know, just mingling with these people. And I felt like basically I used methadone as like this scapegoat of like, oh, I'm not this social person, but when I'm on methadone or when I'm fucked up, like I can talk to these people and I make sense and people like me and shit like that. Not even realizing that that's like not even the truth, bro. Like people like me fucking sober more than they ever like me on methadone, or any other fucking bullshit for that matter. So I have to drive home from this party, and so I didn't drink the whole time we were there. I didn't drink. Well, we get back to my cousin's house, and I did start drinking. And I woke up the next day just kind of feeling like shit, and I went to the bathroom and threw up in the fucking toilet because I had already taken, not only had I taken way more than one methadone, but I had also fucking drank on top of it. But I didn't go like hardcore, right? You know, I drank a few beers, but that was another thing. They asked me right away, my cousin's girlfriend asked me, like, bro, I've already seen you put away like 4 beers in like 45 minutes. You don't even drink, dude. What's going on? And I was like, it's warm. You know, it's nice outside. They're just going down. You know, I'm totally lying to all these people around me, which is an embarrassing thing to fucking come to terms with, because you know you're not this type of person, but this drug is making you this fucking not the person that you usually are. But you're so fucked up and you know more than anybody else, so nobody could tell you shit. You know what I mean? It's like being a teenager. So the next weekend I go to my cousin's. By this point, I'm just really, really in a bad fucking way. Like, honestly, the only way to describe it is I basically thought this is my way of offing myself, but slowly doing it. It's not like, you know, just unexpectedly, you know, like in my head, this is what I'm thinking, dude. You can't reason with a fucking addict, bro. And I can't even tell you why I thought the way that I thought. But things were so fucking rough in my life at that point. All I could do was focus on a couple things, and it wasn't anything that it should have been. It was just all shit that was negative things for me. But that's all I could focus on. Like I said, I would get on Discord and try to game with my buddies, and 9 times out of 10, it would just end with me sitting there listening to music and just, oh, what'd you guys say? Oh, okay. And, you know, you're zoned out and fucking none of the shit even mattered, dude. So, yeah, this one weekend comes up. And it wasn't my cousin's fault because he didn't know. I was lying to everybody. My dad didn't know. My mom didn't know. Nobody but the person that was giving me copious amounts of these. And I'm saying, fucking, bro, just literally giving me whole scripts, dude. And not, you know, never had to pay for none of it, and just kept feeding this. Basically, this one weekend comes up, and yeah, my cousin was like, man, I'm not going to really drink beer this weekend, I don't think, man. It's not only does it kind of start giving me a headache when it starts to warm up and shit outside, but also like I'm fighting like vertigo and shit all the time. And I was like, all right, bro. So go on about the day, and about me, I don't know, maybe about an hour later, he's like, let's go to the liquor store, dude. And I was like, all right. So we get in the truck, we go to the liquor store, and we get vodka and blue Gatorade. This has come up multiple times, actually, in chat. You know, my cousin is like, oh, he loves blue Gatorade. Yeah, bro. So we start drinking heavy, and I've already brought my clothes for the weekend to stay the weekend there, all the methadone that I need for the weekend, which I'm driving around with at this point, because I didn't even give a fuck anymore. And it's real stupid of me, because people that know me as like a pretty responsible fucking person, or I at least try to be. And not to mention, this shit's at my cousin's house. He's not a fucking drug addict or nothing. So it's like, bro, anything could have happened, dude. It's unbelievable looking back at it now. I can laugh at it now, finally. But, so, in between all of this shit happening, I had been listening to Sleep Token heavy, dude. And that night, we start fucking pounding this blue Gatorade in vodka, and my dumbass is like, oh, the Gatorade part of it, like people in Florida do that shit so it keeps them hydrated, you know what I mean? And dude, I got so fucked up, and I tried to lay down to sleep, and the only thing that I could think about was, and I didn't even know at the time, I was fucking paranoid at this point. The whole room's spinning because I'm drunk, obviously, but I'm also on a decent amount of fucking methadone that you shouldn't even ever be drinking with, dude. Like, I was playing with fucking fire, literally. So yeah, I sat up to try to get my fucking marbles back together, and I just could not get bad fucking terrible thoughts out of my brain. Like, bro, I might not really wake up tomorrow. And so finally I passed out, and I woke up in the morning, but I was on the couch, and I don't even remember how I got to this couch. But I wake up, and I start puking in the kitchen sink, dude. And when I'm throwing up in the kitchen sink, it's just nothing but blood, dude. And my cousin walks in. He had just woke up, and he's like rubbing his eyes, and he's like, what the fuck's going on? Before he would make jokes at me like, oh, Ralph, because I would throw up and shit. But bro, I really felt that was like my last chance. That was the only chance that I was going to get, because I thought that I wanted to die. And then when it fucking, come knocking at my door just a tiny bit, that shit scared the fuck out of me. But that's where, like I said, I was heavily listening to Sleep Token at this time, and I just felt, you know what, bro? Like, this dude is going through all this shit. This character is going through all this shit. I can fucking make it through all this shit, dude. And I had people around me that I knew were worried about me, or just at the very least, concerned that something had changed, or, shit like that, dude. And I hadn't considered all those things before, because, I was fucking just addicted. So this went on for months, dude. Months and months and months and months. 7 to be exact. It would go on for a total of 7 months. But about the last month of me using methadone, I told myself that it was time for me to pretty much get help. Not so much for the drug, mental help. I still, at this point, I realized that I had a problem. But I was going to talk to whatever therapy or counselor that I had about all these issues, which I did. But Sleep Token made me feel not alone, dude. Not alone. And I would sit there and listen to that shit on repeat, because it would make me think opposite of how I was starting to think. And I was starting to think that shit even more so because of fucking taking methadone every day. So yeah, dude, I don't know. It's crazy, bro. the last month of me being on this shit, I decided that I was going to. I had already talked to one counselor, and basically it just didn't work between me and that counselor because it felt like I was reliving my past every fucking day, which was not helping me move forward and do the things that I needed to do mentally. So I changed counselors or therapists, and Tony said, dude, I very narrowly survived an overdose and actually flatlined, so definitely no judgment here. Yeah, bro, I'm just gonna be open with people, man. Like, I'm not proud of this shit. I'm telling people this shit because maybe it fucking helps somebody else, and not to mention this is how a band that I didn't even really think so much of at first would end up becoming this such massive fucking thing, dude. So yeah, I got therapy, and I started going to therapy, and I told my therapist that I was using methadone and that it was not prescribed to me, and I was recreationally using it, and they basically offered me help, but the insurance that I had at the time would not cover this help, and it wasn't cheap. Bane, you gotta stay down, bro. The insurance that they were offering me, or the shit that they were offering me, the rehab that they were offering me at the time was not cheap, and there's no way that I could have done it. So I fucking told myself, I'm gonna do this. I'm going to fucking beat this, bro. I'm going to beat this. This is no different than anything else. And during this time, I was going through a super rough time with just a situation that was going on around the same time as all this shit was. And, you know, I feel like I was such a bad person to certain people, and there was no reason for that other than the way that I was at that time. There's no excuse other than I was just fucked up, you know what I mean? So I decided that I was going to get my shit together, and I literally just nonstop from that moment forward of me realizing, like, bro, you could die right now. I knew that it was time for me to stop, but unfortunately a pill like that, you can't just not take it, bro. You can't just stop taking it. You know what I mean? It doesn't work like that. You're going to be sick. And your body is used to it. I was doing this shit for, at this point, it was at least 6 months. So I had basically had a internal dialogue of, bro, it's time to man the fuck up, get over this shit, and move forward with your life, because you're not going to be happy. Your family doesn't need to fucking get a phone call that something fucking happened that you could have prevented. I could go on for days, bro. So I decided at that point that it was time for me to stop, but I would have to taper myself off of this shit. So it became this, I come home from work, I listen to fucking Sleep Token, I be alone in my head, and I'm taking less methadone every day. I know there are some people out there that will be like, bro, that is not what happened. You did not do that. Bro, I would take any type of lie detector test. I would take any type of drug test, whatever the fuck you wanted me to do. I started to wean myself off of this shit. Started to completely come off of this shit. And, what got me through was the people that around me that I knew loved and cared about me, and that I knew would be devastated if I wasn't here, and I couldn't be myself anymore around, because I wouldn't be. I just decided, dude, like, this has to end, bro. So yeah, I would just listen to fucking Sleep Token, and literally at the same time of, like, Vessel releasing, or Sleep Token releasing these albums where Vessel has these moments where he's going back and forth with himself, or he's all for this. Those are all things that I felt the whole ride with what I was going through. So I fucking related to this band more than I could ever relate to anything in my entire life, dude, because it was just what was happening at that said time. And after about a month of therapy, and really just starting to be good in my own fucking head, or I guess I could say not just in my own head, but my own company, dude. I had to learn how to just chill by myself, dude, and have a good time and not fucking feel like, I wasn't deserving of things. I totally changed my mindset. And I don't think if it wasn't for the people around me at the time that realized that I had a problem and were like, bro, you need to fucking fix this shit. And Sleep Token, I would not have gotten through this, dude. But it was more so like all of these songs that I was listening to started to become like this redemption story. Like I said in the beginning, dude, it was me just realizing, bro, hey, it's, regardless of how anybody looks at you or whatever, you gotta fucking be accountable for this shit and move forward, dude. So, about a month into therapy, I was able to wean myself down to literally taking nothing. And I had the bottle still at my apartment. And maybe about a month into me being absolutely sober from these things, I had a really bad day. I had a really, really fucking bad day. And I was like trying to fight it in my head, could not get it out of my head. Like, bro, you still have these. And I was starting to go back to this old way of thinking of like, you don't have to fucking, you had a shit day, bro. You could just take this and you don't have to fucking feel this way. So I relapsed and I took a half a pill, and it made me feel like I could crawl out of my own fucking skin. It made me feel absolutely disgusting. Not just because I took the shit. It just did not make me feel right, like it always made me feel before. And I don't know what the fuck it was, but whatever happened was supposed to happen. That's all I can say. Whatever happened was supposed to happen. Was supposed to happen exactly how it happened, because the next day I woke up and I was pissed at myself that I did that shit. But I was like, bro, I would never want to I can't believe that's the way I felt every day. It felt so foreign to me. Not like this warm blanket that it was in the beginning. Bro, and there have been times throughout my life where I got myself involved in shit that I wasn't happy with, but I always had the willpower to walk away from it. So this time was going to be no fucking different than any other time. There are people out there that will tell you you cannot get fucking clean off of methadone on your own. I promise you guys, I pinky promise you guys, I am literally the walking fucking person example that I did do that shit on my own, bro. And I'm not making none of this shit up for clout. There's people in here that knew that I was on that shit or found out that I was on that shit. It was no lie, dude. It was no, I did this shit all on my own. So, well, not all on my own. The support system that I had, Sleep Token being a huge part in just making me reverse think all of these things. Like, I can fucking do this, bro. They gave me this want to get up every day and just fucking destroy, dude, in a sense of a positive way. And it was all happening pretty much at the same time, Granted, I will say, around the time that Take Me Back to Eden came out, I had already been clean for fucking almost a half a year, if not longer. If not, yeah, like I said, probably longer. So Vessel's redemption felt like, to me, like, wow, man. You sat and listened to these dudes fucked up at the worst point in your fucking life where you did not want to wake up, period. And I got to witness their redemption, and it was happening at the same time of me coming to terms with all of these things. And just, you know, I would say that around the time of Take Me Back to Eden came out, I was finally proud and moved on from that. I had gone through this fucking downward spiral and was like, wow, dude, I can actually just fucking kick ass and do things in life without needing all this extra bullshit. And, you know, obviously I'm not going to sit here and harp on everybody, because I do dabs, I do smoke weed, you know what I mean? But the way that I look at it is, if that keeps me the straight and fucking narrow, I'm cool with it, dude. Everybody has a crutch. It's just like, is your crutch worth your life? Because probably not. But yeah, guys, it was a crazy time in my fucking life, man. And that's already over, bro. 2 years ago was the last time, almost 3 years ago now, that all of that shit went down. And yeah, like I said, you know, mid to late 2020, I was already heavily listening to them, but by 2021, I was an absolute Sleep Token fan, and they were finally starting to pull me out of my shit. So, you know, I see these people that go to their concerts and say, your music saved my life, and it's like, bro, I don't even know how to describe it other than that. Like, there were a lot of people that tried to talk sense into me, dude, and I was just so fucking stubborn and hard-headed around that time, because I just wasn't me, dude. So chances are, if I was around in your life at that point in time, and shit that I did or said or was doing didn't make any sense, that's why it didn't fucking make any sense, dude. You know, and most of the people that know me know that, like, yes, I did get myself clean, but I never told the beginning and end, you know, how the spiral started. And, you know, there's still a battle every fucking day in my brain, dude. You know, I think everybody deals with shit in their head that they're not okay decision-wise that they made, or, you know, things like people that they hurt, or, you know, things like that. And you're not going to get that shit out of your head. You just got to kind of learn to live with it and forgive yourself. But yeah, I think Sleep Token was so important in that. And again, you know, if you were here from the beginning, it probably makes sense to you now why Sleep Token was so important to me, was because I was literally fighting this redemption of my own. At the same time, Vessel was describing all of these things, and bro, anybody could come along and just say, that shit's coincidence, dude, or you sound like a fucking weirdo. Call it whatever you want, bro. That's what happened at that point in my life. And yeah, I never discussed the whole thing, you know, parts of it with people. And there's so much more, dude, you know, like there's so much more as in details of things that I did during the day while I was fucked up, or conversations that I would have with people and just fucking absolutely nod off. And like, I don't even know how they didn't realize. I'm sure that they did realize that these things were going on, but I tried to hide it. And when I told everybody, including, you know, going through all this counseling, now I did go to counseling for about therapy sessions for about 7 months. And that's just because it was almost 8 months that I went. And that's just because Yeah, I appreciate it, Bill. Again, dude, I don't tell you guys this shit for attention or anything like that. If the way that I look at it is, if this shit was able to help me, maybe it could help somebody else. Maybe somebody stumbles across this story and is like, bro, I'm going through this shit right now. Like, bro, I'm telling you, it's possible, dude. And people that know me, you know, dude, around that time, I had lost so much weight that like I have pictures of around that time, and I just looked like almost sickly, dude. Because that shit fucking lasted all day. And so it didn't give me an appetite. And the more fucked up part about it is, no different than any other serious ass drug like heroin or something like that. Towards the end of me taking methadone, it was literally me taking methadone so that I didn't feel like shit. So that literally I did not feel like shit every day. Because I would wake up, and as soon as I woke up, I would have to take the shit, because I always took it in the morning, and my body it felt like I had the flu all the fucking time, dude. And then from throwing up the days that I overdid it and shit like that, dude. Like, I look back at it now, and like, I'm just happy that I am where I am now. You know what I mean? You know, Seb tried to talk to me around this time. A lot of people talked to me around this time, and I kind of just isolated, and I pushed people away from me, because I felt like anytime someone was around me, they would just end up getting hurt, or I would be a certain way, or this, that, or the other. And it was just a lot of crazy fucking way of thinking, because I was fucked up all the time, dude. You know, like I said, I can sit and tell this story now, and it doesn't bother me anymore. The bothersome part of it is that I actually did this, that this actually happened, that this was actually a reality in my life. And there are people that, like, probably will never talk to me again because of some shit that happened around this time. You know what I mean? Like, it's just really insane, dude. So, you know, if music is your thing, and people wonder why music means so much to me, and it's because of exact things like this. It's because of literally things like this. Music is so important to me, because had I not, I'm glad you're still here to tell your story. Some people never make it that far. You know what, Dad? It's crazy, because the whole time that it was going on, that's not what I thought at all. You know, that's not, I didn't think of, like, you know, I wasn't thinking of, like, man, somebody could learn from my mistakes, or, you know, I just don't have to, you know, I just had given up mentally, dude. And it's crazy to me, you know, it's crazy to me, because, yeah, I had convinced myself all these fucking years that I was this socially awkward person, because of the person that I was with for so long in my life had made me to believe, really, that, like, oh, it's not that you can't talk to these people, it's you don't know how to talk to these people. And really, it's like, bro, I go around people nowadays, you know, like Drop D and I met up at the flea market weekends back and had a fucking great time just bullshitting, and like, I'm not a socially awkward person, but these are things that I mean, that, like, all I can say, dude, if this probably should be summed up to mental health shit, dude. There are things that happen in your fucking life, dude, that if you don't take care of those things on a personal, mental level or emotional level, bro, you're going to deal with them shits forever. So you just gotta get through it. And I mean, granted, I'm thankful that I was given the willpower that I have, because who knows what had happened. You guys probably would have never even, this channel would have never existed, bud. Like my dad said, some people never make it that far, dude. I am thankful for, and do you know what's crazy is when I came out of that shit, and maybe, maybe people that are around me see it more now than ever. The tiniest fucking things that I'm grateful for in life, the tiniest things that I'm thankful for in life, is so different now than it ever was, dude. So different now, because I think it's not until you get to that route of like, oh bro, you might just give up this whole shit and you never, you know what I mean? No, trauma and mental health is the gateway drug, dude. If you don't take care of shit, and I'm talking, bro, this wasn't just from a relationship. There were a lot of things that I went through in my life. Did I have a horrible childhood? No, I didn't have it hardly as bad as some people do. There were some things in my childhood that played a part in me later on kind of turning to drugs, in a sense of, like I said, not heavy drugs, dude. I'm talking recreational shit that, like, but I think had I not gone and taken care of me, my mental fucking shit, really, dude, that's what changed everything. When I started going and talking to the second counselor, I actually, is a place called ARC, not to be confused with a veterinary hospital, but it is a place called ARC. And that was the second place that I went to, and I was able to actually talk through this shit rather than just hide it. Or Sev would hit me up and I'd ignore Sev the whole fucking day because I didn't want to talk about my problems, Prox's life, Prox's problems. I didn't want to talk about that shit with people. I didn't feel comfortable talking about that shit with people because I wasn't happy with anything that was going on. And again, dude, I just think that there's a lot of people that are in places that could be sitting here having the same discussion with you guys that are on higher up places. Mental health should be looked at more than what it is, dude. And sometimes we as human beings just are fucking stubborn, dude, and you don't want to admit that you have problems to people, or as a lot of older generation people, not that I'm saying that anything bad, but some people were raised that, like, men don't fucking feel that way. They aren't supposed to do this. They aren't supposed to do that. They aren't supposed to feel this. They aren't, bro, all of that bullshit is exactly what that is. Bullshit, dude. I think without being able to show or feel or talk about things, you're bound to explode at some point, dude. And it might not just be into drugs, dude. It could be fucking way worse than that, dude. But yeah, guys, that is pretty much, the whole story. I'm just saying, for those of you that are like, bro, why are you so fucking obsessed with this band? That's all he does is talk about this fucking band. Like, they changed my life, dude. Changed my life. Lots of people came into my life and changed my life during this time. The trip to Florida was kind of like just what set the ball in motion. You know what I'm saying? And I'm more so thankful for those things now than I ever was. The worst thing you can do is bottle stuff up. I learned that the hard way myself. No, dude, you're not wrong, man. But I think that at certain points in our lives, we try to convince ourselves that the hell that we face. There are people. My dad said, "Thanks for sharing. I gotta go to bed. I'm glad you were able to tell your story. I've told mine years ago that I never even knew, and it helped. I'll talk to you I'll talk to you soon. Love you. Love you too, Dad. Thanks for stopping in here, dude. Thanks for being a part of this shit." Yeah, dude. It's crazy, dudes. It really is crazy that all of this shit happened around the time. But for those of you that question my obsession with sleep token and whatnot, that's pretty much it. You know, it all boils down to they just so happen to fall into my lap at a time where I needed help, but I needed help admitting that I needed help. You know what I'm saying? And sleep token was kind of like that push into, bro, you need to get this shit figured out. That's what started the thoughts of that. Because I didn't feel like I was alone. You could say, you could say all of this other shit, about, I could have went this way, I could have went that way. This is just the way shit fell, and it took me a while to pick the pieces up, dude, and really just admit to myself and everybody that it was fucking wrong for me to be this way. But again, coming back around to what Tony said, dude, mental health shit, again, like I said, there are people that are higher up than me that should be talking about this shit. Still a dork, though. Dude, bro, I'll always be a dork, man. I'll always be a kid at the end of the day, I'm always going to be a nerd and somebody that's big on nostalgic things or retro shit. But I thought that this story just in general, there was a time where I was going to put all of this on pretty much like a sleep token forum, and I just felt like no matter which way I put it on a forum, I couldn't convey like really how I felt, the whole ride of everything, what all happened, those types of things. Yeah, dude, it was just a crazy time in my life, bro. And again, I can say that sleep token, basically, for lack of better words, was the fire under my ass or the foot in my ass that got me headed in the direction of like, it's time to figure this shit out, dude. It was like starting my life all over again, and this was at the age of like 37, dude, and I felt I was already kind of established in my life. Life kind of humbles you, bro, as a 37-year-old man that, has to move in with their fucking parents, dude, and basically just work from the ground up to rebuild everything, it's crazy, really. But yeah, so I would have to say that I've been clean. It's at least 2.5, if not two. It's pretty much going on the 3-year mark because I quit it would have been around December, November or December was around the time that I actually full on quit. I remember it was in the winter time because I had spent the whole summer pretty much fucking up. But yeah, guys, hopefully, yeah, Tony said, thank you for sharing. Hopefully it can help somebody. Bro, I hope so. And honestly, the more important part of it is it might explain to some people who never knew why I talk about Sleep Token the way that I talk about Sleep Token, why I constantly support their shit, share their shit. It is that way because, bro, they literally got me through the fucking worst times of my life. But yeah, guys, we are going to call that good. We're coming up on the 3-hour and 30-minute mark, and it's time for Prox to get something to eat, call it a night. Can't believe that dimmed out that much. There we go. But yeah, I will catch everybody in the next one. Next one will be the end of the Siphon Filter series, and like I said, if you weren't able to catch those videos, they're always going to be up. But more importantly, if you didn't catch those videos, the last thing I'll say is we're going to be finishing Siphon Filter. We're going to take a break from retro games in a sense of I kind of want to start a game in not really a modern franchise, but a more modern franchise. And then I talked about the poll with everybody. The next poll will be an interactive game type movie. Tony said, later, brother, later, everyone. Check out The Wild Side of Midnight this Saturday. Yeah, bro, I'm hoping to catch it. I can't tell you if I'm not up till midnight because it'll take you a little while to upload it. I will definitely catch it the next day, and hopefully... No, dude, you're fine, bud. I will say, until you're able to live stream, I'll be able to catch your videos at least the next day. I believe this Sunday, Saturday, I probably won't stream. Sunday, I probably will finish up Siphon Filter, most likely finish up Siphon Filter. And then the following week, we will at some point get into the newer franchise that I want to kind of get into gaming wise. Tony said, I might not be live, but definitely we'll definitely drop an episode. Yeah, bro, I really hope you get the 50 subs you need to go live. I definitely trying to get you there, man. I would just say that's the best outlook to have, bro, is that even though you can't be live right now, you will be live at some point. And I definitely will catch your videos next day, dude. But until next time, guys, Sunday, I will see you. I don't have a time, probably around 11 my time, Eastern Standard Time, 11 in the morning. Maybe, around 11 in the morning. And hopefully soon we can get back to Saturday morning cartoons and shit. Until next time, guys, peace.